All right, we'll work on it. It's okay. Life will go on. Carson Weekly is here in for Griffin today. It's sort of a trial to see if he's going to be able to be a backup producer around here. Lost the perfect game early. That's okay. Even if you give up
a leadoff single, you can still put together
next
a good
27
start.
guys out and had a great start, maybe one of the greatest of your career. Good morning, it's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn Clark. Yes, Carson Weekly is here with me today. Is Griffin? I don't know where Griffin. I honestly don't know where Griffin is.
All I know is he texted me yesterday. Said I'll be unavailable in the morning.
I think he's going to L.A., but I think maybe he had a graduation to go to first or something. I don't remember. I gotta be honest with you. I don't remember everything, but I know at some point he's going to be in L.A. because he was talking about going to a Angels game. I think. I'm not sure. You know what? I probably should pay closer attention. I probably sound like a jerk right now.
He's just busy.
He's
busy. That's all.
He's not here is the point. You know who else isn't here? Making a nice habit out of not bothering to show up on time.
Wins the championship, and all of a sudden
I feel like it's a personal disrespect. Like, I don't think he would do this to somebody else. I think it's like Glenn. And so at some point I feel like I have to say, sorry we had to bump you. That's the way it's going to have to go. Now, is he walking in right now? Today's show brought to you. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, we had to have a meeting earlier. Today's show is brought to you by. That's what he comes in with. He comes in, drops off his coffee, and disappears. That's what we got from him today. It's brought to you by AJ Michaels, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Home Performance. Will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is here. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. Yes, Drew with us for the first hour of today's program. Later on in the show, TT Bowens from Bowie as we make our weekly trip to the Baysox. He's been red hot since he got called up. Was in that weird year where there were only 5 rounds in the draft, and so he had to sign players after the draft in 2020 because of the pandemic, and he was one of their undrafted free agent signings, and has shown a lot of pop, but also a lot of strikeouts, which has been part of the problem. And, you know, you can only have so many of those guys. Thankfully, since he's gotten to Bowie, starting to show a little bit more consistency. It's a small sample size, but we're going to talk to TT Bowens. And then later on in the program, Jim Bowden, of course, former MLB GM, now with SiriusXM, The Athletic, CBS Sports. We'll talk to him. He was raving about the Orioles over the weekend on MLB Network Radio. I happened to hear that, and also get some thoughts about what may or may not happen at the deadline. We'll do that with Jim Bowden a little bit later on in the program. So all of that coming up today. Obviously, a heck of a night for the Birds last night. Really unbelievable win. It's a hell of a sport, baseball, right? You can go from having probably your worst loss of the season to having maybe your best win of the season in the span of 24 hours, which is truly remarkable as the Orioles looked lifeless for much of Nestor Cortez's outing last night. It looked like they couldn't do much of anything.
He wasn't so nasty after all.
That's why we bring him in here.
You got to open that up real quick.
Oh, for God's sakes with you. No.
Who is this guy?
That's Carson Weekly. Settle down over there.
Carson, you got to have this open.
Yeah, you got to probably.
For the talent.
What is for the talent? When's that showing up? when are we getting some of that around here?
You got it right here, dog.
Yeah, is that so? You might want to bring Drew up slightly, Carson. You might want to
bring me up. My voice is really low.
Yeah, what a game that was last night, man. Holy smokes.
Kachuk. This dude has scored so many goals, so many huge goals for Florida.
He has, actually, is the crazy
It was
part.
Unbelievable.
Well, so I didn't watch any of that because of the baseball. Yeah, I don't know if you heard there was a baseball game last night.
It's May.
I understand
You
that.
watch hockey.
Well,
unless you're in Philadelphia.
Sometimes. Well, these have been pretty great series, so I can understand why it is that.
How funny is it that the Celtics won the other night.
Game. Other than that, it could have been all 4 sweeps. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's nuts. 10 days off between the start of them and.
Well, I think the NHL has.
Yeah, they don't care.
They'll just start the Stanley Cup Finals early. I don't think they set a
Make
date.
the ice and let's play.
Toronto, the NBA said it's going to be next Thursday, no matter what.
And Vegas is up 3-0 on Dallas,
yes,
right?
correct. They could finish that off tonight too.
Vegas is getting a baseball team.
They are, and that was a little shaky for a second.
They're getting a baseball team.
They are getting a baseball team. They're gonna have 3 sports. So here's Drew doing the bit where he'll just go wherever he wants to go. He's just.
Well, what else are we going to talk about?
Well, I mean, you started talking about the hockey. I was going to mention, if you didn't see it, Kachuk. I was about to call him Keith Kachuk.
Right.
Because that's what I do.
Kachuk.
Yes, Kachuk scored with 4 seconds left, power play goal to lift the Panthers to the
Florida.
Stanley
It's
Cup
unbelievable,
final.
right? Like, this is a – they're trying to remember the Blues. When the Blues won 7 years ago, they were 12 points out of the playoffs on Christmas.
Right.
They finished as the 8th seed.
Were the Blues really the 8th seed?
They were.
I didn't remember them being the 8th seed.
And they ran through everybody.
Right, correct.
And won.
Monsters. They beat Boston.
This is very similar.
So
very
Florida,
but even more impressive because Florida can't lose.
Well, now they can't lose, but they were down 3. People have already forgot they were down 3-1 to Boston in the first series.
Right.
They won
2 in Boston.
Correct. It looked like they were just going to be what every other 8 seed is in the playoffs, and now since that point they've lost 1 game.
Miami played in the NBA, and they're in.
It's nuts that it's both Miami, right? Like,
they played in to get in.
The two. Imagine being a sports fan in Miami and you're going into the playoffs.
Well, there aren't any.
I understand that.
Right.
Imagine if there were one.
Right.
I was going to do it.
Imagine how much reveling you'd be doing
with your one
if you
friend.
liked sports.
Correct. I was going to do a bit this week where I was going to say, imagine being a Wizards fan. Then I had to say, imagine if there were Wizards fans. Like, start with that.
Right.
Imagine. Somebody said to me once, you think there are any Wizards fans in Baltimore? I said, there aren't Wizards fans in D.C. How are you going to find a Wizards fan in Baltimore if you can't find one in the city that they're in? It's impossible. If this person does not exist.
Did you see the thing that the Titans did when they released the schedule?
Yes, I did.
They should do that in D.C. by just going up to people and going, name 3 guys on the Wizards.
0 chance. Right. There's not a chance
and then
in
put
hell
their names up on
anyone
the screen.
could name 3 Wizards. Not a chance. John Wall.
Right.
Is Wes Unseld
right.
still with us?
Right.
That would be the way that it would go. The Panthers and the Heat both sneak into the playoffs and all of a sudden become complete juggernauts. And one is already into the finals. The other one will attempt again tonight
Did
to
I
join
see
them.
something the other day that no NBA team has ever come back from 3-0 down?
Yeah, the other 2 leagues have had it happen. The
That's
NBA has never had it happen. But it's never been like this. This is the only thing that's unique, and I say it's never been like this. Typically, a team ends up down 3-0 because they lose the first 2 games on the road. So if they win Game 4, they got to go back on the road.
Right.
It doesn't normally happen like this. Does
Boston's back home now.
It creates
now it's 3-2.
Right.
Now they got to go to Miami, play for their life. Now it's 3-3. Then they go home and win because Miami chokes.
Right. You lose at home, or you lose in Boston tonight, and all of a sudden you start to feel it a little bit. You start to feel we're not going to be the team that blows a 3-0 lead for the first time ever, right? Like, this is a little bit more interesting than a typical scenario where a team down 3-0 wins a game, and you're like, okay, that's cute. You didn't get
100%.
swept. It would have been that way. For example, if the Lakers had somehow won Game 4, then they would have just gone back to Denver to get their brains beaten in Game 5, and that would have been that because LeBron James had to play 48 minutes in Game 4. He would have been, nothing.
Are they really trading him? Or does anyone really want him?
Why would they trade him?
It was all over the TV.
I
mean, people with nothing else to talk about.
Correct.
Would Golden State be a good fit? I'm like, are you insane? I mean, he's still a very, very good player, but who wants to
it's really funny.
Reproduce their whole team for him?
That's the question is, what would you have? Because if you had to give something up, there's no world in which you have to give something up.
I mean, I'd give up something, but I'm not giving up anything of value.
If he decided he was done in L.A., if he just decided I don't want to be here anymore, in 2 years,
taking my talents to
in 2 years, I'm just going to sign
Detroit,
where I'm just going. Thank you.
All right.
I'm just going to sign wherever they draft my son. So what the hell, this thing isn't going to be. I want to spend 1 year somewhere else.
Now, that would be cool.
It'd be cool
if they played together.
It would be
cool. That would be cool.
It would be cool. I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool, but at that point, you're talking about 40-year-old LeBron James, and I don't think people realize.
Is this kid that good?
No, that's the part about. He might be a first-round pick.
So are the ball kids, and they can't play a lick.
That's fair.
Right.
Actually, that's dynamite observation from you.
The kid stinks.
Actually, no, the kid in Charlotte's pretty good.
He's all right.
No, the kid in Charlotte's good. The other one, obviously, was not. But the kid in Charlotte can play. LaMelo Ball is good.
I don't even remember their names.
Lonzo was the first one. I don't know what happened. Where is LiAngelo?
He had a brief stint with Charlotte.
He was with LaMelo in Charlotte?
Yeah, I think he had a 10-day. And
really?
He got in one of the games, and I think he airballed a 3.
Oh, good. Yeah,
and Lonzo's just been hurt.
There you go.
Dr. Basketball over here.
There you go. That's why we brought him in here. Oh, Carson.
What's your
Weekly.
story now? Let me get
No,
this
we
done.
don't need to grill
Where do you go
him.
to school?
I
Like,
got
what do you
things to
do?
talk about with you.
I met you over the winter. I go to Ole Miss. I'm summer now, so I'm gonna be a senior
nice.
next year. Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss?
Yep. I went to Loyola though, so you're not gonna like that.
Which Loyola?
Blakefield.
Yeah.
Couldn't get into Calvert Hall,
The
huh?
blue one.
Testing too hard that year for you. They do make those tests hard.
Yeah.
I understand.
You didn't get into
Ole
Calvert.
Miss.
Hey, wait a second.
I didn't get into
you
Calvert
didn't
Hall
get
because I
Calvert
got
Hall.
accepted into Glen Burnie.
Right, that's a great point. Fine.
My grades were good enough. I got into Glen
Fine
Burnie.
Institute of Higher Learning. Now, exactly what do you need grades-wise to get into Glen Burnie? Just grades, right? If you get any.
I brought him up. I said, here are my grades. The guy goes, let me see. You got 6 classes. You got a grade in all 6.
Yep, there you go.
Start September 8th.
I believe the test to get into Glen Burnie is, are you currently on meth?
You better watch yourself.
then-
You can't say that on the air.
Oh, I can say whatever I want to say.
Old Miss, by the way, in my
Did you say Old Miss?
no Ole Miss.
It sounded like Old Miss.
Oh, maybe I did.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of things said on the air recently that didn't sound.
When we were in
That didn't
Indianapolis,
sound
when
right.
we were in Indianapolis that one night, I think I ran into Old Miss.
Yeah, you sure did. Prettiest girls in the history of pretty girls at Ole Miss.
What's his face? The country guy had a tough night at Ole Miss recently.
Oh, Morgan. Yes,
Oh,
he
yeah.
did.
Did you hear this story?
Yes, he
No,
did.
Morgan Wallen.
That guy Morgan Wallen.
What did he do?
Who's, by the way, I'll never understand that fame because his music stinks.
Okay,
Um,
that's like the Beatles. Go ahead.
There you go. It's the first time Morgan Wallen and the Beatles have ever been used in the same sentence.
for sure.
So you've accomplished that. This guy was playing a
He's a country music.
Yeah, he's a country guy, and he was
Okay.
playing a concert at the Ole Miss football stadium.
Okay.
So there's 80,000 people or whatever going to this concert.
40,000 of which can't figure out why they're there.
I don't know why anybody was there.
Right.
He gets drunk the night before. He
Okay.
goes out in Oxford
Okay.
and is still so messed up the next day that they didn't cancel the concert because they were just hoping that he would
Piece it together.
recover at some point. He never recovered.
10
They
minutes
had
before he's supposed to come on.
80,000 people show up. They had all the opening acts play. They're just desperately hoping the guy will sober up at some point during the day, and he never does. And 10 minutes before the show, they say, "Go home."
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was like a
No.
double. So he did Saturday night and sold out the stadium and did the show, and then Sunday was the one that they
Went out,
canceled. And
went out,
people were
got-
livid.
And that's
Well, wait a minute.
And
How
so
do you get? The show's the next night.
yeah.
Yeah, was it 8 or 9 the
How
next
do you
night?
get that drunk that you can't? I mean, what
These
are you, a
are
lightweight?
rock stars. They go out until 6 in the morning, man.
So you
And
get
it's
up at
Oxford.
4:30 in the afternoon and go sing.
Well, you would think that. So the word.
Oh my Lord.
So they tried to say it was his voice. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
he's got a
right.
voice
He's got a
problem."
stomach ache.
And then all of the people backstage were like, "No, he's effing hammered.
Oh my God.
he's here. He's not in a hospital. He's here. He's just incoherent."
Oh my God.
There was a picture of him going around allegedly from backstage, and it was just him face down on a couch.
I mean, it was
just this is the state of him right now. I don't
my
think he's
God.
getting on the stage.
Welcome to
today.
Oxford.
Wow.
Welcome
Well,
to
anyway.
Oxford. Hope you had a good
I don't know how
time.
we got onto that, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, because he's from Ole Miss.
Oh, right.
Orioles had a nice win last night, obviously. It's such a weird thing that this is just all you can say after something like this is it's just baseball. This happens in baseball, and in a way that it can't happen in any
Would it
other
happen all with
sport.
one out? I forget. Was it all one out?
I think it's
Started with a walk.
was Mullins. I thought was the first. The strikeout.
It happened with one out. All of the uprising happened with one out.
So you
right?
say
Or
so
no?
the home? When did Frazier's home run?
I think
There was already an out.
I
thought-
think. But
Yeah,
maybe,
so
I
it-
gotta go
maybe
back.
not.
I gotta go back.
I
and
think there
relive it.
was.
Maybe not.
Because it was a Santander walk that started the.
So I'm
The
gonna go.
actual route.
Right. I'll go back and relive it. Here we go. This is how it all played out last night.
Okay.
So the Orioles are down 5-1, lifeless. I mean, other than the Mountcastle home run, nothing. Just absolutely zero going. I think there was the one inning where they had 2 walks and got 2 runners on base, but just an utterly lifeless effort against Nestor Cortez. And it looked like they were still hung. Speaking of
They
Morgan
call
Wallen,
it nasty up there in New York.
Thank you. I knew you were waiting for that. It looked like they were still hungover from the last night. It looked like
Right.
what happened on Tuesday night was still impacting the Orioles. So yes, Santander walks. No, there were no outs.
Okay.
There were no outs yet.
Okay.
Santander
I was
walks.
watching hockey,
Then
so.
Hayes gets the hit, and then Frazier pokes the ball off the foul pole, and all of a sudden
And this
they're
one
like-
hit the foul pole.
Yeah, well, the last
Unlike
one,
Nate
the last one
McLeod.
did too. The last one also hit the foul pole. This one was a bit more obvious. So all of a sudden it's a 1-1 game, and you're like,
We're
okay,
got
this
a lot
is-
of
this
life
is-
left.
This is interesting. So then
30 minutes later, it's 9-5.
correct.
Right.
They bring in Cordero, and everything comes unglued for the Yankees. Everybody goes up there and just starts slapping base hits through. And, Gunnar Henderson has the huge double to put the Orioles in the lead, and they end up winning
fourth
the
hit of the year.
9-6. He's actually been, on a pretty decent trajectory.
Yeah, he's
of late.
hitting 204 now or whatever.
Yeah,
he's
and he
rolling.
was hitting 150.
He's
so
rolling.
That is significant.
Yeah, and tonight, Clark Schmidt pitches for the Yankees, and he went 2 for 3 off Clark Schmidt last time.
So there you
he
go.
faced him.
He's got that going for you. That's why
Who
we
is this guy? I mean, come
That's why
on,
we
man.
keep
Don't
him.
embarrass us.
He's ready.
He studied today.
Don't
He was ready.
embarrass us
He was
like
ready
this.
to go for
We
his
don't even
big
know who
moment.
Clark Schmidt
He
is.
was studying earlier.
There'll be no more embarrassing of the talent.
The big moment after all that is then you put in Michael Givens for whatever reason for a third straight
stinks.
game. Well, I mean, I don't know if he stinks. I don't think he's quite ready to pitch in a third straight game
Right.
after he just came off the DL. And I like everybody was crucifying Hyde for not leaving Bowman in after Bowman had such a quick inning before, but we've seen this before in baseball when a dude sits on the bench for 30 minutes, especially on a cold night. If you guys saw the shots of Mike Elias, it wasn't a pleasant night in New York last night. Typically, managers say we don't want to throw that guy back out there for the next inning. So you're thinking in a 4-run game, it's a safe spot to bring Michael Givens in. That wasn't the case. Danny effing Coulomb is the hero of the day coming in. Did I bore you? I'm sorry. Did I bore you?
I'm getting messages. I'm running the rectory at the same time I'm doing this, so we got people coming in for food.
If you can't make it, you can always just say,
I need the $250.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
What do you want me to do?
Going to do well.
Money's money.
Danny Coulomb is the Orioles' savior as they hang on for
Which I can't even believe you said that.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? But this is baseball. What happened last night. I know that you can have incredible things happen in other sports, but something like that last night can only happen in baseball, where you go from the worst loss of the year to suddenly being saved by Adam Frazier and Danny Coulomb for maybe your best win of the season.
Frazier's been a nice pickup.
Frazier has been a nice pickup.
I mean, a definite upgrade over Odor.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Definite upgrade over him.
Well, I mean, he's done what he gave you what Odor brought you. He's just more consistent. The Odor thing was
every fifth game he does something,
and it would be big.
Right.
Every fifth game he would deliver
maybe eighth game,
whatever
but
it was.
But
he had a knack for stinking and then all of a sudden delivering a massive hit.
Right.
And Frazier has done that. It's just been a bit more frequently that he's done it.
He's a. I don't want to say Odor isn't, but like this kid's a real ball player. I know he's. When we got him, everybody's like, "Oh, Adam Frazier." He's a real baseball player.
No, he's really
legitimate.
He's really offered you.
He's not an all-star
that's the
or
thing.
anything like that.
There's a limit to it, 100%. There's a limit to it, and it goes back into the conversation about where are you going. Who is your second baseman ultimately? The only true second baseman you have in the system is Norby, but Norby's the guy that you're hoping you can sort of use in a trade because he's the least thought of.
You know what's weird about that kid?
Prospects.
What's his nickname?
Who? Connor Norby?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where we're going with this, so I'm gonna regret it immediately. I don't know.
Norby.
That's his nick.
That's what I'm saying. Like, doesn't that sound like Norby?
That's what you would call somebody named in baseball. Nobody's allowed.
Like if the guy's last name was Norbelinder,
right?
You'd call him Norby.
Norby, exactly right. That's a baseball thing.
If his last name was Norber, you'd call him Norby.
I don't know how you felt.
Now
about
he's
this.
called Norby.
I was never. Ripken. I've never been able to call him Billy. He's an adult man. His name is Bill. I can't do it.
I got another name for him.
Yeah, F-face.
Yeah, right.
But
Norby.
I understand. Thank you.
Now you're calling him Norby.
Boy, I don't. We were doing well for a minute. We were talking baseball. It was a whole thing.
That's boring.
You want to talk about golf, don't you?
Boring.
That's why you can't.
That was exciting.
Drew Forrester, Drew'sMorningDish.com, is here with us in studio. We'll talk more baseball once he's gone. We'll get back into it. He wants to talk about golf.
I wrote all about baseball today.
Did you?
I went through the 30% mark of the season. Here's a little snippet on every team.
Oh,
dude, the A's are horrendous.
Well, yeah. I
mean,
you
know what the record
they
is?
Were going to be.
What do you think the A's record is? You know right now what the
I
what
don't,
the record
but
is?
They've won 12 games.
You wish they won
10, right? Is it only 10?
Correct.
You know they got to host Houston and Atlanta too.
Well,
they're 10 and 41.
What do you
think about this.
They don't have any players.
Okay, think about this. They're 10 and 41. They're 30% of the way through the schedule.
Right. So they're on pace to win 34 games or whatever. Yeah, I hear you.
They have 10 wins.
I get it. But what do you mean? It's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster. They don't have any players.
How funny would it be if they win like 24 the whole year? Like, how funny would that be?
Like the 7-59.
How
Charlotte
embarrassing is it
Bobcats.
to have lost a game to the A's, though?
Correct.
You should almost be relegated at that
10
point.
and 41.
That's the way it goes. All right, go find that at drewsmorningdish.com.
By the way, how about the big news of the week? Nate Shelley out.
What do you mean, Nate Shelley? Who's out? Did you watch last night?
No, I didn't watch last
okay.
night.
I
Don't
was
say
like,
anything about last night.
All right. Well, I was going to talk about it with you.
No.
Well, it's quite obvious.
Nate Shelley
the thing that I
out.
told you was going to happen is happening. Like,
Yeah,
that's,
sure.
You always knew the way this
Well,
was
you know
going
what's
to
going to happen is he's going to come back on their staff now, and they're going to beat him. They're going to beat Rupert in the championship or the playoffs or whatever.
Right.
Right.
And then,
Dude, the Nigerian league owner guy is one of the best characters in the history of TV.
so he's that actor is Sam Richardson, who is on maybe the greatest show of the last 20 years, a show called Detroiters that nobody watched, and I'm furious about it.
Right.
That guy is amazing.
The first time when Sam went into him and said, I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm going to stay with FC Richmond, and he went into that, you no good, you worm-eating. Like when he went into that whole thing. That's similar to the last scene of Training Day.
It's really good.
It's
really
very
good. I don't
similar to
disagree
the
with that.
SeaWorld.
I should have told you had to watch before you came in.
I know, but
I should have
don't say a word. I'll watch it tonight. I'm a Thursday night watcher. Wednesday night's tough.
Problematic. You know, next week's the final episode. What day are you coming in next week?
What?
Yeah, you didn't know.
Next week's the last one?
Yes. Yeah, that pretty massive moment at the end of this episode.
Up here a little bit.
Well, we don't know for sure that they're not going to attempt to continue the show in some way.
I saw
Sudeikis, we're pretty sure, would not be involved with it if they did. Like, we don't know that they might not.
I wish that girl that ran the Indian restaurant was going to have her own show.
Well, she's lovely. I don't disagree with
I'd watch that.
She's a lovely young lady. We're in agreement on that one.
I want to punch that Keeley girl right in the face.
You
She
can't
just
say
gets on my nerves.
You can't say that, Drew. You're not supposed to say those things.
I'm talking about in theory.
I understand.
I'm not talking about really
just don't
punching her.
say it.
I'm talking about really punching her.
I was
going
to do an ad here, but I don't think any of our sponsors
just
would
gets
want
on
to
my
be attached
nerves.
to that statement.
She's on my nerves.
Next week. So when are you coming in next week? Are you doing Wednesday or Thursday next week?
I will have to do Thursday.
All right. So this is the deal. You can't come in unless you've watched the episode.
Okay.
All right. We're not going to do this next week where you're like, oh, I haven't seen it yet.
No.
You're not allowed.
I'm going to be away. I'm playing in a golf tournament in Pittsburgh Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll be back Wednesday night. I'll watch it and I'll come in.
All right. I'm just saying, if
Okay.
you haven't, we're kicking you out of the door.
Okay,
We're going to
okay.
have a person at the door.
me
Carson's
you're
actually going to
kicking
come
me
in
out
next
the door.
week, and he's going to be checking IDs at the door, and it's
Okay.
going to be have you watched the episode or not, and if you haven't, then you're not allowed in.
Okay.
All right. Make the comparison for me.
Hey, how'd the Turkey Bowl go this year? Go ahead.
There he is. That's
Go
our
ahead.
guy.
You know how.
Drew Forrester.
Go ahead.
Drew's one of
That's
the
actually a
best
good
guys.
answer. Just acquiesce. Just
Right.
that's a good
Yeah.
answer.
You watched it.
There's no reason to. I like this
But maybe
kid.
you ask him how it went the year before.
I
then.
like no.
Maybe you say,
doesn't have to
I
do
like that.
maybe you say how'd it
Better
go.
pipe down, Carson. I like this. I like
Do
this
you?
kid.
Do you like him?
This is one of the rare.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding.
Like, you want to say hello to this
I like
morning?
all, I like
You
all
wanna-
those. I
you wanna
like all
say-
those. I like all those Loyola kids when they sleep.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's our guy.
I'm kidding.
Make the comparison to me. Michael Block doing what he did. Make the.
Oh my God.
It would be like a college tennis coach qualifying for the U.S. Open and beating, Andy Murray. What? Make a comparison for me as to what that is in another sport.
I mean, I think that's a good one only because it's realistic. Like it's not realistic for you. I don't even say you or I because that it's not realistic for someone to come off.
Maybe not for you. I'm talented.
It's not realistic for someone to come off the street who's a softball player and get a hit off of Justin Verlander or a home run. It's not realistic for.
But what I would say is it really off the street? Would the comparison be you're a career minor leaguer who you at 30 you finally given you're cracked through and you have a massive month or something like that?
No, this is. I would say this is far more of a testament to the. This is far more of a testament to the level of play. There you have kind of three different groups of people. You have these PGA Tour players who have their own sort of segmented, compartmentalized echelon, if you will. Like you've got a group of guys making a nice living.
Mm-hmm.
You got a group of guys playing a lot of really good golf, making $3.5 million a year, winning a tournament here and there, and then you have the top 40 players in the world who are ungodly wealthy,
Right, correct.
and who are winning and getting all of the spotlight. Then you have this group of others in the country who play on the Korn Ferry Tour and the Canadian Tour that are in the thousands, let's say. Even though there might only be 150 guys on the Korn Ferry Tour, the other 850 could beat those guys in golf on any given day, right? You have that group. Then you have this next group of this guy, Michael Block, and another 50 guys like him in the country total who are really extraordinary players, but who, for whatever reason, in their golf maturation, never got it to click for them at the top level, at the upper echelon level, right? And given a chance somehow, it's wildly inconceivable, but given a chance, they then show, and it isn't, Tin Cup was a movie, but it's not all that dissimilar to what they try to do with Tin Cup, which is to take this guy who was a great player, who had a kind of a homemade swing, which this guy sort of kind of does, who is happy playing $100 Nassaus with his buddies and traveling around Northern California or Southern California and playing golf for money, playing golf for money, making $150 giving lessons. He's happy doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden gets this opportunity to go play in this event that he earned. And what's incredible is that he did it at that golf course. More than anything, people have no idea how difficult that place played. It's one thing if he's playing this week at Colonial, short golf course, 6,600, 6,700 yards, and he kind of navigates his way around that. That's one thing.
Right.
This place was a beast. So it's really a testament to him and how good he is at 46 years old. And I mean, your college tennis coach thing is a pretty good comparison. Like, I'm the tennis coach at Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be pretty good at tennis.
Right.
I
had a shot at
played,
right.
I'll make this name up, right? I played Jim Courier once.
Right.
And I beat him a set.
Yeah, that math doesn't work anymore, but I understand what you're saying.
Right. I beat Michael Chang or whoever it is. Like, I beat that guy when he was here and I was there. But, I'm no good anymore. But I'm 37, and I thought, what the hell? I'll enter the U.S. Open for kicks because my aunt lives in the Manhattan
Bowden,
now, and I could stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got through the qualifier. Oh, this is kind of cool.
Right.
Met a couple girls at the bar, told them I was on the team, on the U.S. Open. Oh, this is kind of neat. I got a first-round match against some dude from Sweden. Never heard of him before. Oh, I beat him. Like, I'm in the quarterfinals. Like, this.
You're saying this would be like making a run to the quarterfinals at the U.S. Open?
I would say very similar to that.
Okay.
I would say, like, if you were a nondescript, off-the-street, qualified guy, not some goof who doesn't play tennis.
Right.
Like, this is not Sid Finch. This is
right.
like, you're a legitimate tennis player, but you're 32. Let's be, let's paint it exactly. You're 32. You can't possibly compete with these people. But what's happened over the years is you've developed this really weird ability to hit these massive serves.
Yep.
The rest of your tennis game's good, but you can kill this serve. And all of a sudden, you're playing and you're like, if I win today, I'm in the quarterfinals.
Right.
I would say that's what this is like. Like, that guy finished in the top 15 in the toughest field of the year on the most difficult golf course. Now, this will be an interesting week because now, over the last 2 weeks, he's lived the life of a tour player.
Right.
He got on a plane Sunday night. He flew to Fort Worth. He got up Monday. He's a rock star. Interviews, got to go practice, got to try to play, got to talk to sponsors. Can I get $20,000 for wearing your logo? Like, he's living it now.
Yep.
He might shoot 77, 74 and go right back home.
Sure.
Like, this could bottom out for him. Because now he's going to find out that it isn't as easy. And like, on a very smaller scale, I totally experienced this in Omaha. I I would not have been able to do what these guys do every single day. It wears you out. I don't know how they do it. Like, it gave me a real appreciation for what these guys do. And I was doing a third of what they were doing because I didn't have 12 sponsors running around with me. I didn't have, like the stuff that these guys go through, and then they have to go play really good golf is a miracle. And, it'll be interesting to see what he does this week because I feel like the bloom is about to fall off. That's what I feel like. I feel like he's going to be.
He's not really supposed to be there, right? Like, it's not the way it works.
Now, in the contrary part of this is he's playing a much different golf course this week, much more probably aligned with his skill set, much less quality field.
Right.
Like, do I think he can win? No. Would it be unbelievable if he were even remotely in the hunt?
Yeah. Sure. It'd be an incredible story.
Yeah. It would be an unbelievable story.
Drew Forrester is here, drewsmorningdish.com. Today's show also brought to you by...
I also like that we're not talking about Koepka.
Okay, well, hang on. We got to say something about it. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. One of the things I said earlier in the week is I'm glad I don't care about golf because I can avoid having, like, somehow this becoming a pissing match about live golf. If somebody said to you, Drew, we'll pay you $200 to go down there this weekend. Where is it? Which course are they doing this thing at?
Colonial?
No. The live thing this weekend in D.C.
Is it this weekend?
Yeah.
Is it this weekend?
It's this weekend.
It's at Trump's place.
Oh, is it? Okay. They said we'll
remember him, right? Ex-president.
Yeah. Well, he might be the next one.
Remember change the country?
Yeah, sure did. Yep, you're right about that. Boy. A lot of change.
That's what they're saying.
No,
I've
heard.
That's what they're
I've seen it with my eyes. A lot of change.
They say he changed the country.
Change.
So they're playing at his place, which, by the way, this is just now a nerdy golf opinion.
Yeah,
it is very, very overrated as a golf course.
Okay,
incredibly overrated.
Oh, I've heard it's the most rated.
Yeah.
It's rated. Everybody says it's beautiful.
Right.
It's a perfect. Everybody.
You know what's funny? I know you're going to laugh when I say this. You're going to find this shocking.
Yeah.
It used to be called Lowe's Island, and that's what it used to be. It was a private member-owned facility called Lowe's Island.
All right.
It was actually, when I first played it, now I'm going back to, geez, it was 2004, maybe?
Okay.
3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. The Middle Atlantic Amateur was there. There was a significant tournament there. I don't remember what it was. And I played it, and I was kind of blown away by how good it was. I'm like, holy, it's kind of had this great 18th hole, and I'm like, holy hell, this place is really, really good. He bought it, refurbished it, fixed it up. Now it's terrible. I know you're shocked by that. But he
so unlike
right. He couldn't buy the golf course and just leave it alone. So anyway, what was your live question? Am I going?
No. I know you're not. I know you're not going.
Right.
I'm saying if somebody offered you money to go work the event, would you?
I'm just not that interested in it. I'm just not interested in watching it. I just don't get the whole idea, the whole team thing. I mean, I know what they're trying to do, but what they're trying to do is sell the teams to people.
It's not going to work.
But that's what they're trying. Hey,
did you see the news this morning that PLL's officially going to move to cities?
Are they going to come to Baltimore?
I don't know yet. They haven't said anything yet.
How could they not?
Well, there's only 8 teams, and it's a very awkward thing. It's exactly what happened.
Right. So the national now people may not know this, right? The hotbeds of lacrosse now today are Denver.
Denver, yes.
Denver's a huge hotbed.
Yep.
Right.
Western New York, somewhere.
Okay, sure.
Whatever.
Up there somewhere.
Rochester.
Wherever.
Right. Albany,
right.
Somewhere in that upstate New York.
Right. Atlanta.
I don't know if I would say hotbed yet, but I could certainly understand why it would be desirable for them
let's say desirable. Right. Yes. Desirable for sure. It's weird, right? You almost have to have a team down there now in that area.
And they might say Jacksonville is I think Jacksonville's even more of a lacrosse hotbed, but I don't think it's as good of a market.
But Atlanta airport, you're in and out, huge.
100%.
All right, so you have those three.
Long Island for sure.
Oh, Long Island, right? Okay, 4.
Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia is absolutely. There's a reason why the Final Four has stuck there.
Right,
it is a hotbed,
right.
man. Boston.
Right, got the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and if Kraft wants it, everything goes to him.
Now the question becomes: do they want something west of Denver?
Salt Lake City.
They are based in Los Angeles.
Okay.
They have desperately wanted to make Los Angeles.
I got
real.
6 years of indoor soccer experience to tell you.
I understand.
Skip it.
I understand.
Skip it.
But this is.
I get it.
They have a lot of wealthy backers.
Right.
I think they're going to push for Los Angeles because
Okay.
what you're doing is mapping out exactly what I've mapped out, which you're left with one of Baltimore or D.C. And it's the same problem that everybody's had for years. Now, Paul Rabel's in a unique spot, right? He's from D.C. He also understands the Homewood Field is lacrosse, right? And he has watched.
They got the Lacrosse Hall of Fame here.
And when his when this thing has come to Baltimore every time, it's been massive. It's been incredible crowds.
But these teams down there, when I'm about to say, I'm equating this to high school golf, so forgive me if I have these wrong. But these schools down there who are lacrosse schools,
yes.
who are athletically,
When you say down there, you mean D.C.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landon,
yep.
Gonzaga,
yeah, sure.
Prep, Georgetown Prep, St. John's, I guess, if Under Armour guy continues to funnel money in there. Are those schools as good as Boys Latin, Calvert Hall, McDonough, and lacrosse?
Not quite, but it's close.
But it's okay.
Yeah, it's close.
But St. John's finished top 3 in the country last
Yeah.
year. But I think top to bottom, the MIAA is still a better league.
Yeah.
But
right?
but is it?
But we're having two different conversations, of course.
Yeah, it's not like, and I'll use soccer as an example. Like those teams down there can keep playing soccer all they want.
Mm-hmm.
They're not beating these best teams up here.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not, soccer-wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if lacrosse down there, if there's a balance of power and you're Paul Rabel and you say, do I want to be in Northern Virginia or do I want to be in Timonium?
Well, the question is different. I mean, it's
or
this
Sparks.
It's no, they would just put the games
at Hopkins.
At Homewood.
Right.
With it being Paul Rabel, they would absolutely just put the team at Homewood. The issue that he's faced with is the same issue that faced the last league, which is, well, we like this market. It's bigger. Why can't we just be there? Whereas what you're saying is the exact answer. Right, but this is the better lacrosse market. So you have a bunch of these financial people, these people that don't really give a rat's ass about lacrosse, that have invested in your business.
Can this thing ever make it?
Well, what is make it?
I know that there's this pipe dream. Not even a pipe dream. Make it meaning, and I don't, we used to do this in soccer all the time. I don't know what Frankie Kelly should make playing lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
Should he make $32,000 a year or $150,000 a year? And we all know what the answer is. He's going to make whatever the TV money allows him to make.
Correct.
It isn't really about the attendance. That's nice.
Yeah,
that's nice.
But I would say it's also about.
But the league can't survive and grow.
I understand.
It's got to be a TV
but
product.
The league has also understood that a lot of this is personal branding too. Like the league is almost operating as an extension of the NIL concept, which is
you'll make $30,000 playing lacrosse, but you could go to Hun or whatever it's called
100%
and make another $60,000.
We want to help you lift up your Instagram,
Gotcha.
all of these things.
I get that.
Your profile, so that you become more valuable in the process.
But you got to do the work.
Essentially, yes.
You got to do the work.
Right. Correct. We want to profit off of you, but
I
also
always thought that this
to
carnival
profit.
thing where you travel around and then you call them the arrows and the chestnuts and the whatever you call them, I thought that was silly. Personally, I didn't think that.
I
didn't like.
You
I didn't
can't
like
get
that
me
idea.
to care about that.
Right.
You can't get
right. Now.
when
lacrosse
you come to
nerds-
town, maybe I'll go, but I'm not going to watch a single game.
Right.
You
lacrosse
can't tell me.
nerds might say this is cool. The arrows have these 4 players on it, and the gold diggers
the
have
concept
this.
is all the best lacrosse players in the world are showing up in one city at one time. I got why the
Right.
concept was intriguing to them, but you can't buy investment in me. I'm not going to watch on TV, which to your point is what matters most the following week, because I don't have a team to root for.
Right.
Why would I care what the Archers do against the Cannons the following week?
Right.
I don't root for any of them. So when you're here, I'll show up, Because it was. I went. It was a great product. It was incredible. The atmosphere was unbelievable. The lacrosse was good, the whole thing. But once you leave, I've got no attachment to this thing.
Right.
It exists for me for all of one weekend, and then it's on somewhere else.
You gotta put them. You gotta put them in the. You gotta put them in cities. You gotta identify them as.
Yes. You got to tell me that I'm rooting.
A regional component.
I'm rooting for the Baltimore.
Right.
Whatever the Baltimore Atlas, whatever it is, you
Right.
got to tell me that's what I'm rooting for. And then when you're playing on ABC the following week, and there's nothing else going on, and I don't care about you'll be watching golf. But once the French Open is over, if the Orioles aren't playing at the same time, I got lots of time where I might be looking for something on TV. I'd encourage you to do more night games in order to. That's the one thing about the summer is that we typically tend to be outside in the afternoon. I would say maybe trying to figure this a way out to make there be more night games for viewing purposes would be a good thing. But no, I've never been on board with that working. So we'll see. They haven't announced anything other than just they're going to go to cities after this year. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, when we come back in, you were going on. You're obsessed with the Preakness attendance thing. It's very interesting.
There was no one there.
We'll talk about it.
No one went to the race.
Not no one. Not no one. That's incorrect. Far less than have gone in the past. That part is accurate. We'll talk about it when we come back in. Today's show brought to you by PressBox Online. He keeps saying it. Today's show brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Head there right now and get $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after you place your first $5 bet. See this and other great sportsbook offers, again, at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Drew's here. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick, Jackson Holiday, and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip, that first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know what's on Grindr or anything. I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, back in here on GCR. Drew is here.
I love that you guys leave that in the rotation just to have a go at Paul.
It's fun. It's a fun.
I love it.
And you enjoy that.
Poor Paul.
Paul's doing fine. What do you mean, poor Paul? He's doing fine for himself. Why are you worried about Paul? Drew Forrester is here. Are we back to normal times this Sunday? Are you doing noon on Sunday for Fairways and Greens?
Are we doing something this weekend?
The radio.
Are we on the air?
Yeah, we do radio shows. Would you just
Memorial
think we're
Day weekend?
I understand. Did you take off?
No, I assume we weren't doing anything.
Oh.
Are we on the air?
Yeah, we're.
Oh hell.
We're on the air.
All right.
Are you gonna do a show?
I apparently.
Okay. Well, then we'll say.
Jesus, this is getting in the way of my golf.
I understand that. Maybe you plan.
I'm moving to a permanent.
You made me come in an
6
hour
to
early
8.
last week.
Well, that was good. We had a good time last week.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Fairways and Greens at noon on Sunday. He'll be with you on 105.7 The Fan, and then Reed and I. And actually, Reed is off on Sunday, so it'll just be me from 1 to 4. Congratulations. I haven't had a chance to actually talk to you about it. Congratulations, pal. I know that was a big moment for you.
It was?
How did the team manage to overcome?
They did.
How'd
I keep
they
saying
manage
that as
to
long
do
as I don't screw them up.
Right? How'd they manage to do that?
We just, we had a great year the whole year. I mean, we really did. It just sounds crazy to say. We played 14 matches. We never played. Not one time did I get on the bus and say, what on earth happened today? Like, we never played poorly. At the end of the year, we were involved in a lot of really tight matches. We won a huge match at Rolling Road against Mount St. Joe that we were pretty much losing the whole day. And then 9, 10, 11, 12, we came back and we won those holes. And same thing against Spalding late in the year. We were losing to them. It was very tight, and we won a few holes at the end. And, the top 4 teams make the playoffs, and all 4 teams are very good. St. Paul's good, Loyola good, us good, Gilman good. We thought we were better than all of them, but we also know you got to go play now and prove it. And we beat Loyola in the first round, very close. Again, same thing. Like, we were ahead the whole time, but it was always in the balance. And then Saturday we played great and just hung in there all the way to the end. Like, we needed 2 putts on the last green to go in, and both of them went in. So, pretty cool.
Awesome.
Kids played unbelievable golf.
Awesome.
Kids play great golf.
No, it's incredible. There's no getting around. It's absolutely incredible.
Hard, man. That conference is hard. I'm sure every conference. I mean, McDonough was the cream of the crop in lacrosse, but Calvert Hall had a good year. Boys Latin had a good year. Loyola was the only team to beat McDonough. Like that, the level of play. Baseball, same thing. I know Spalding had those pitchers that sort of nobody could hit, but the level of play in that A conference is just unbelievable how good these athletes are in all the sports. I mean, even Calvert Hall's basketball's been down a little bit, but when you go over there and you watch St. Francis come in or St. Joe come in or Goretti come in, you're watching these kids play basketball. You're like, holy cow.
Well, it looks like there's about to be a top 10 pick in the draft this year in Cam Whitmore. So,
right.
I mean,
so the level of play in golf, it's hard for me to speak about the other sports because I don't get to see them much like in the spring. I follow soccer a lot. I go watch soccer. But in golf, the level of play of these kids in golf is extraordinary. I mean, those I walked with my 5 and 6.
Where are your kids going? Where are they going to play?
Well, I don't have any seniors going to play anywhere.
Oh, okay.
But I have several juniors and sophomores and freshmen who are, if the coach doesn't mess them up, they're going to go play college golf
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
But the level of play, like in the 5-6 pairing that I walked with the other day, the last group of the day, the level of play of those 4 kids was extraordinary. I think there was, over the last 6 holes, I think there were two bogeys between the 4 of them.
Wow.
And 3 or 4 birdies and pars, and it's just incredible.
That is remarkable.
Yeah.
That is remarkable. Well, good stuff, man.
Yep,
Congratulations.
thank you. It was good. It was
All right.
fun.
Now
Better than losing.
Now on to I could not
Better
figure out what you were trying to say the other day when you wrote about the Preakness. I couldn't figure out exactly what you were trying to say. Like, that you want to get rid of the Preakness, that you think they're trying to tank the Preakness. Like, I can't figure out what your point is entirely.
I don't know if I know either.
Okay.
I think the race there, the horse race, and you could, we talk about this all the time. Is it a horse race or is it an event?
No, it's
which is it?
I mean, it's not.
Right?
It's an event. That's
right.
what it is.
Right. So the event there is broken.
There is broken.
The event there,
right.
THERE,
right.
is broken. I don't know what fixes it. I don't know what fixes it. They could have, and this is all, shoulda, coulda, woulda. They could have built a racetrack where they built a casino and the Topgolf years ago when they were talking about building a track there. They could have done that. I don't know what that would have done. It infinitely would be better than that place up there right now.
Okay,
so we all know that.
So
nothing in sports. Let me say this.
Right.
Nothing in sports. Nothing replaces a venue.
I don't disagree with that.
If you have a new venue, You can play darts in there.
Yeah, and everybody
and
shows up
people will
because
go.
they're interested in it.
Right.
I get that.
And
but let me go back a step. Do you think that they're going to rip up what they're doing? Like, I know it's annoying that it's taken so long, and now it looks like it's going to be the death of Laurel. Like, that's apparently the way that it's going to go. But do you think at some point that they're just going to give up? That the Stronachs are going to say, we want to renege on what we agreed to? Like, I'm confused by the plan does still exist. It's just been delayed because the expenses got out of control from the pandemic. And now, apparently the plan is, it's not, nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wants to say it out loud, but the plan is just, what we're going to do is not, the money that we had put towards upgrading Laurel, that's going to go by the wayside. We're just going to get rid of Laurel and put everything to Pimlico is the understanding. So do you think they're going to go back on that? Is that where you think we are?
I would say that they are trying to figure out, and part of this is the fact that that racing itself, and there is a connection to racing and the Preakness, meaning that in the old days, the racing card started, I'll say, end of March or beginning of April.
Right.
Probably beginning of April, and ran through July 10 or whatever, June 25th, whatever. And you had this built-in equity that people were interested in racing for some period of time, right? And could only be 6 weeks, but race results read on the news every night. There was this enthusiasm for it.
I understand that.
That sort of crescendoed.
But that's been gone for a long time.
Right. And so, over time, it's now become more about, we're having this event on this day.
Yes.
That's all we're doing. And there's no community affection at all for racing. There's community affection / apathy for, we're going to have this event here. The building's terrible. We want you to come out. I don't personally buy anything about the neighborhood and all of that because it's in the middle of the day, and I just don't think that's a big deal.
Well, the neighborhood's been what it's been for a long time.
Yeah,
it's not like the neighborhood became
But
that.
I hear and read a lot about people saying nobody wants to go in.
By the way, all those people,
come on.
The moment the new arena had Bruce Springsteen and the Eagles, all the people that said they weren't going downtown were right back downtown. I mean, it's nonsense.
But the answer to your question is, and this is where I'll confess that I don't know enough about what they own, or more so, what the community's enthusiasm is for racing, to understand if they would prop it up. And I'm just going to, I'll use Gulfstream, or you can use any place you want. Would that community, that city, be energized if they moved the Preakness there? And would they now get 100,000 people to pay, $125 to come out there for the day? I don't know the answer to it.
I guess where would that the Stronachs aren't moving. Like, they tried. They did that bit. They wanted to move it to Laurel, and Belinda Stronach said, you're not doing that. We're not moving. Nobody involved now. I mean,
so then how do you fix it then?
Well, they're going to do a new Pimlico. That's the point of all of this. They agreed to it. I mean, they got the deal that they wanted to get. The issue, for sure, has been, dude, wasn't that supposed to happen a year ago? Wasn't that supposed to happen?
Do you think that 46,000 people showed up there on Saturday? 100,000 people were showing up. 44,000 people became disenchanted about the track that quickly?
No, I think, they literally, half of the stands are unavailable.
54,000.
Like, half of the grandstand, it can't be used. They shuttered it.
Right.
It's closed.
Right.
So it's physically unavailable. So now you're asking those people, do you want to go out and hang out with a bunch of college kids on the infield? No, I'm just not going to go. So you can't replace that. Those people are not people that are just going to go sit on the infield or stand in the infield all day. So there's a physical issue that caused there to be less people that would go to the Preakness, in part. Secondarily, it's the dirty little secret that the NFL is starting to tell you now too. They
don't care how many people go.
They're not concerned about it.
They don't care how many people go. Sure.
They're just,
I get that.
And
I do get that.
It's a little bit that. It's also they would prefer more of the right people to go. Or fewer, sorry, let me say that the right way. Fewer of the correct people to go than more of the wrong people going.
Totally case in point, 15 years ago or whatever, when they
got rid of alcohol
on the Orioles, right?
100%.
So, like,
right.
I get it.
They are, but now they're taking it a step further. They're saying, we don't really even want, we'd rather our infield look like the Kentucky Derby infield.
Right.
We don't really even want.
Yeah, that may be the dirty little secret. We don't even care that 46,000 people came.
That's sort of what it is at this point.
Right, because the betting handle has increased.
Correct.
I would think.
They want those. They want people with money.
Right. They want you to wager. I mean, they do. The one thing I do know this in terms of, I do know this from someone in that industry. They are very, and this goes to your point, they're very concerned about retaining and upgrading their sponsorships.
Yes.
They want you to spend $150,000 on a tent.
Right.
Which makes up for
the 10,000
people that don't come.
That all are only there to drink. That
might very well be true.
They are past concerns about packing the infield with more college kids.
Right.
Now,
I buy that.
It's not that they want no one, but it's interesting because
I think
in what you wrote, it's funny because you said, well, the young people, Bruno Mars is not an act for young people.
Right.
Bruno Mars is not an act for Carson.
Right.
He's an act for 30-year-olds.
Right.
He's an act for
Overrated.
Professionals. No, Bruno Mars is very talented. Let's not do that.
Overrated.
Let's not do that bit.
He is good.
But they didn't bring in...
Is that his real first name?
I don't think so.
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know that, actually, either. If I'm being totally honest with you, I couldn't tell you what his name was.
Bruno Mars. If
he's
that's his
talented.
real name, his parents should be ashamed of themselves.
I don't think it's his real name, but we'll find out in 2 seconds. His name is Peter Hernandez. That's his name. Swear to God, that's his name.
Oh, my God.
Peter
No
Hernandez.
wonder he calls himself Bruno Mars.
Peter Hernandez isn't so bad. There's worse names than Peter Hernandez.
I don't know, dude. Bruno Mars is a pretty cool name.
It's a very cool name. I agree with that in comparison. So that's what I was confused by in reading. This is not, to me, I get it. There was far less people there. But, one, how many events in this city drag 50,000 people somewhere?
But we have to admit, we do have a tendency to do this.
What?
In Baltimore. We do have a tendency to just stop going.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
There's something to be said for that, yeah.
We did it with the football team.
We sure did. That's fine.
We definitely did it with the baseball team.
Right.
We sort of did it. I mean, you go back and look in the old days of the Bullets. We did it. We did it with the hockey. There would be 8,500 people in there on Friday night for the Clippers in Providence.
I hear you.
Then it became 5,500. Then it became 2,200. We do this a lot.
I don't think that's unique. I think you're making it seem like it's unique. And
I don't know that it
unique.
Is. I don't know about that. Now, you might say it's unique.
Well, I mean, I know.
I'll say
I know it's definitely not unique. I mean, I can't say it's everywhere.
Cleveland would be an example. We might do something very similar to what Cleveland does. But Boston doesn't. Those people went to Fenway Park whether or not the Red Sox were winning or not winning.
Yeah, Fenway Park's also a 36,000-seat stadium.
I get it. But those people go, right?
It creates a bit more demand.
This is a 50-year review, not a 1 year. We do this a lot.
Okay.
We get disenchanted and we go, yep, we're done.
Yeah, while I hear you, I think once this
it's ever in our
happens, DNA. I get it. I get it. I think once this ever happens, and by the way, it's got to happen, and that's still the sort of the difficulty of all of this is that
we took Duck Pin for dollars off TV.
That's a great point. And now it's all over. It's been all downhill ever since that moment.
I mean, we had Duck Pin for dollars and we got rid of it.
Once they finally do get the work done, the question will be,
will people go?
And then the question will be, how much do they care? Because the other part of it is they've done the bit that so many people want to do, and I'll make the comparison to PLL. If you think that you can run a Baltimore thing from Florida, you're going to find out you're going to get your feelings hurt. One of their problems
totally
is
agree with that.
They don't have a footprint here. They basically don't exist outside of the race. There is no one.
Well, there is no horse racing.
It's not just that the sport doesn't exist. It's that there's no spokesperson. There's nobody to go out to. We talk about this all the time. It's the little things that nobody understands how much they matter. You got to show up at the Kingsville 4th of July parade.
Right.
You have to have a presence. If you aren't the Orioles or the Ravens and you want to exist.
Show up in a costume, half horse, half man.
What an idea. Correct.
Parade around.
As much as I lost my mind about it, how many people showed up?
Right.
They went from having 80,000 people to having 140,000
Right.
people in 1 year just by having a presence,
Right.
just by being involved in the community, just by you knew who to call, you could talk to somebody about what was going on, they could get their messaging out that way. This group has attempted to run Preakness from Florida. They don't know the people. They don't know the community. They don't understand any of that. So the connection is gone. It's fly by night. It's we show up. And you're always, every single person that is, when they wanted to put an indoor football team in Baltimore but run it from D.C. and think that, well, it's just, they'll be grateful to have it. It's stupid
football.
Baltimore.
People
right?
go to football
Like,
games. Right.
You're always, 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 always going to get your feelings hurt doing this. When you try to treat Baltimore like a secondary market that should just be grateful that something exists, you're always going to get your feelings hurt in the process. You can't do it. You have to run it as a Baltimore entity. Part of it, undoubtedly, is their failings when they attempted to, instead of having Mike Gaffigan to run everything here, they just said, well, some guy that you guys don't know in Florida will be the guy. That'll be your connection, who knows nothing about Baltimore, who's not here, who shows up for 2 weeks, and hi, good to see you, good to meet you. That's that. They have a bigger problem.
Can I get you a black-eyed Sandy when you get a chance?
Yeah, exactly
Would you like a black-eyed Sandy?
That is a bigger problem that exists for this. They have failed
I'll
in
buy
that capacity. Now, how they fix that part of that is on the politicians here. The one thing, the last governor would have never cared if the Preakness left Baltimore, because the last governor, there is a belief among some politicians that what's best for your biggest city is what's best for the state. We all know Larry Hogan didn't feel that way.
Right.
He felt
wanted
that way
it to be good for Crisfield.
Or for Ocean City. He cared
Right.
deeply about
Right.
Ocean City, did not care
Sure.
about Baltimore the same way. This governor does not feel the same way. This governor would say what's best for Baltimore is what's best for the state. But you got to follow up on that. You got to say, hey, it's not just that you hold the event here. There's got to be a presence here in order to make this work. And that's where I'm not sure that the mayor understands that. I'm not sure that the governor I think all they see is we got to make sure we keep this event here, so let's make sure we get this moving and we get the track upgraded and all of that. Right. I don't think they understand when they do these deals the importance of saying to the Stronach Group, like, hey, you also have to show up here. You have to be here physically. There has to be a presence for Maryland racing. I don't think, for all of whatever you feel about the mayor, the governor, I don't think they understand that.
Right.
I don't think that they have prioritized that in their negotiations with the Stronachs about how this works. So that, to me, is where there's a bit of a disconnect.
Bring back the Centaur, I say.
You know what? I hated it, but it worked. It for sure.
I got to go to the rectory, hand out some food.
Right, yeah, you go do that. Fairways and Greens, noon on Sunday. We think. We think he's going to show up.
All right.
You're on the schedule.
All right, jeez.
So
I wish somebody would tell me.
They send it to you. Do you check your
but
email?
now I got to open my email. I'm 60 years old. I don't open my email.
I can't help you
come
here,
on,
dude.
man.
I can't help
All right,
you
Chase, we'll see you soon.
DrewsMorningDish.com. Anything else for you?
That's it.
All right.
I can't believe you let a Loyola guy in here.
He's a good kid. He's hardworking.
No, he is a good kid.
He's a good kid.
Better than the what happened to our boy? Where'd he go?
I said we had to have a
Jury
meeting.
duty?
We had to have a meeting.
Where'd he go?
I think he's going to L.A. this weekend or something like that.
Is he really?
Yeah.
On his
I don't know.
salary?
I have no idea where
on
he gets the money from.
24 grand salary?
I think the parents. I think he's young enough that I think he's just
Okay.
living off. I say that like I don't do that with my in-laws.
Yeah, right.
I say that like they're not paying for my vacation.
Yeah,
this
right.
summer.
If you can get it, right?
I paid for Disney World, so I got to take the next 6 years off.
Right.
I said we can go on vacation again when you're 40. That's the next time I'll be able to
All
do
right, see you at
that.
the Turkey Bowl.
All right, man.
Maybe you guys will win again.
Drew
We'll
Forrester,
see.
DrewsMorningDish.com joining us in here. All right, when we come back in, we will make our weekly trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. TT Bowens is going to join us next. Speaking of Bowie, Pressbox is doing a great contest right now. You can win 4 tickets to all of the area's minor league baseball teams, plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms in order to help you get around. Got to sign up right now. PressBoxOnline.com/contest. Must be 18 or older in order to win. PressBoxOnline.com/contests. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Again, today, or actually, Stan the Fan Charles is who I want to talk about right now because Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson. We're joined by Andy Dolich. We do believe we have clarity now on the Oakland A's situation, but those guys had a great conversation on Monday night. If you missed it, you can find it right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube. Oh, hello. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. It's YouTube.com/PressBox. Why do I always struggle with these things? I don't know what that's all about. I have an issue when I do these. It's YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We got to do something about that.
Yo,
I don't know who I'm talking to. Carson Weekly, I'm going to put you in charge of this.
Okay.
I know this is probably a bit above your pay grade, but I need you to get that fixed.
Okay.
We got to be.
So now, Glenn, we
got to get it all. We got to get it all.
So you asked me. I know I gave up a first at bat single. That's fine.
Right. That's okay.
You're asking me to put together a quality start, and now you're asking me to come out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
too?
both. I need you to do both things.
And say I got first and second one out in the bottom of the eighth here. Can you come through?
Shohei Ohtani could do it.
Do I look like Shohei?
Well, not exactly.
Can I hit a baseball on top of Boog's barbecue?
So no, I don't think so. God, that's unbelievable. So, anyway, PressBoxOnline.com/video, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Those are the ways to go about finding it. And tonight, Stan and Gary Stein are getting together with Rocco DeSangro from Fox 45, their new TV sports anchor. That'll be a fun conversation tonight at 7 o'clock. You'll be able to see that live. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Well, that's an interesting time. That'll be right up against. Why would you want to watch the Orioles at 7 o'clock? You can watch that. You can watch the Orioles after at 7:30. Do that. It's interesting. It just clicked for me that that's the exact same time, and that's something that Stan normally doesn't do. So maybe it's a typo, but that's what I got here is 7 o'clock. So check that out. Yes, Orioles will wrap up the series tonight as Carson mentioned. Clark Schmidt against Kyle Gibson as the Orioles try to get another series win. It did not look good last night. Last night it looked like that was going to go very much the wrong way, but ultimately the Orioles end up winning that game. And I said this, I was trying to. So I'm tweeting last night. It was almost silly, right? Like, you can't believe that a game is going that way. I had the bad feeling after Tuesday night that had the possibility to set up sort of a, I don't know, almost week-long downfall. Like, the hangover effect of something like that, even for a good baseball team, can be real. The significance of what happened in the 7th inning last night, to me, goes far beyond just the fact that they came back to win a baseball game. It's that after the emotions, after getting punched in the mouth the way they did the previous night, I think you reset the entirety of a week with that inning. Because if they go from, devastating loss on Tuesday to kind of lifeless loss on Wednesday, I think all of a sudden that can snowball a little bit. It's the nature of the sport, right? Like, it's an emotional sport that can carry with you. I think that did so much more than just win a game by putting together that inning. I think it completely changes the course of the next week or two for the Orioles, and you avoid what could have been a bit of a letdown within the schedule. Unbelievable turn of events last night. Time for us to make our weekly trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. Our next guest has really come on since he got bumped up to the AA level this season. He was part of that, the pandemic year where there were only 5 rounds. He was an undrafted free agent, and he has shown some power stroke over the years since he's arrived in Baltimore and the Baltimore system. He's TT Bowens, and he's with us now here on GCR. TT, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Of course, man. How's it going?
It's great, dude.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great to chat with you, and I imagine you're feeling pretty good. It's supposed to get harder when you get to AA, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been told, man. But it's a fun, tough game that we play, and there's peaks and valleys, and I'm just trying to keep going what I've been doing, and stay consistent with it.
So take me through, you find out you're getting the bump up, you're going to continue in the process. What is it, just the way you felt? Is it just, hey, it's a week and you have weeks? Like, why is it that you have absolutely mashed since you've gotten the call up to AA?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and I mean, this game that we play, it's very challenging. It's very tough. You have very high weeks. You have very low weeks. And I think now just that, I've played 2 full seasons now. I've learned to not really carry over any bad at-bat, bad day, bad anything. And, you're going to have good weeks. You're going to have bad weeks. And kind of just take each at-bat pitch by pitch and try to make the best of it. And I think, the more you can wipe your memory clean of, maybe that bad at-bat where you punched out on 3 pitches and look bad and you don't carry that into your next at-bat, I think that'll just give you the best chances to, continuously be successful.
Are you a superstitious type at all?
Deep down, every baseball
player. Yeah, that's why. Right.
But
so okay.
I'm not too over the top.
All right, so when you have a week like this, when it's clicking, do you find yourself falling into any of those superstitions? Do you find yourself saying, "Yeah, I need to put the socks on left to right every day because it's working right now"? Like, do you fall into any of it when you're having a week like this week that you've had?
Absolutely. So I mean, sometimes it's very minor things.
Yeah.
Like I try to keep a very consistent daily routine, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm going 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. Like I try to keep everything the same and do the same thing on a daily basis. But there's definitely, I will take notice of certain things that happen, on those 4 for 4 days. And especially if it's a positive thing. Sometimes it might be, the socks that I wore, they might be the ones that have hits in them. If I switch them up and, I go a couple days for, well, I keep my routine the same, but, I might switch the socks up. Maybe, it's like you need that little bit of luck for a couple balls to drop for you.
But you got to tell me,
deep down
so what's it been
all of us
what has it been in the last 10 days?
I mean, it's truly been it's been my first week back, so I'm really just trying to just get my feet wet.
No, but superstition-wise, what have you been eating? What is it specifically that you've done for the last 10 days?
Off the top of my head, these last 10 days, I don't know if it's been anything
out
of the ordinary. It has. I don't think it's been any lucky socks or anything.
All right.
I've been switching them up, and I didn't even really take notice of it. But I also think it's so early, it's hard to really pick up.
I understand. Yeah, you get another
dog days.
Get another couple weeks in. I get it. I completely understand. TT Bowens is with us from the Bowie Baysox. TT, I also wonder, when you found out you're going up. Now you're at the AA level, and now, in a way, it almost feels like it starts to get real, right? And you've made some noise. Obviously, we saw 18 home runs in your first pro season. Does it start to feel like, okay, I don't know what the right term for this is, but I've got to fully get myself on the radar because I can only be a prospect for so long. Does it start to get more real once you reach the AA level?
Definitely. And, I think the talent is obviously very good. And, the talent at single A level is still very good.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference, you start my first week here last week, there's 2 or 3 guys, I think maybe 4 on the Altoona team that I was playing against that have played in the major leagues. And, this week, I think they might have a couple guys that have, played in the major league. So it's once being around those players and realizing, wow, it's a lot closer than it seems, especially playing in single A when the talent is still very good at that level. You really don't see any guys who have played in the major leagues, guys, that are 29, 30 years old that have played, 3-4 years in the majors, up and down from AAA. You just don't see that at those levels. And I know I've been here for a short time, but I've already taken notice of that.
TT, I mentioned the power was there. There's also been a lot of strikeouts, right? Is it fair to say that is a priority for you, is to level out some of those numbers, or are you the type of player that says, look, man, if the power is there, I'm not going to worry too much about what the strikeout numbers are because the power will be what I know will get me to the major league level. And when you're hitting a bunch of bombs, teams are willing to live. We see it all the time. Joey Gallo's of the world, right? Teams will live if the strikeout numbers are up as long as the power is there.
Yeah, I mean, deep down, I don't think any player is okay with strikeouts, but, that's definitely something we've worked on, is with the Orioles system is, being consistent. Strikeouts will come. Obviously you want to limit them, but still, prioritizing, hitting the ball hard, being consistent with your at-bats. And, strikeouts are going to happen. You get a guy who is very good on the mound, and, maybe you miss your one pitch that at-bat and you're stuck in a hole. Or, the umpire, gives him a call, a ball or 2 off the plate, and, you're walking back to the dugout. So they're going to come. They're inevitable. But it's about limiting them and, trying to be consistent. And, as long as you're consistently squaring baseballs up and, putting good at-bats together, and, not striking out, 3-4 times a night, obviously. Just being a productive hitter and a productive batter in the lineup.
Oh, I completely get it. Yeah, if you're productive, certainly that's the way that it works. All right, TT, we got to get to the important stuff with you. You got to tell me the story of what happened in the batting cages on this particular day, because you and I have never had the opportunity to talk about it. how frequently does when we see a video where somebody has a ball come back and hit him in the nuts, let's just call it like what it is. What occurred in the moment? Did you know that you were about to become a viral sensation? And how much do you still on a day-to-day basis, this is a couple years removed, how much do you still get flack about it when people see you somewhere?
Oh, not only do I still get flack about it, I still have PTSD effect every time I step in a cage. No, and the best part about that is, that was the first, I had just set my phone up to record some swings to take a look at them. And I think that was the second one that I took. And instantly it happened, and the whole group of guys that I was with realized that I was recording. And right about then is when I knew that, okay, this is probably going to go viral to some extent. But yeah, that it's definitely a moment that has scarred me, to say the least.
Okay, for that being said, though, was there anyone who retweeted it or laughed about it on the internet that you, as painful as it was, you were like, holy crap, I can't believe, Snoop Dogg liked the video that I was in? Was there anything like that, for as difficult as the video was, where it created something cool that came from it?
No, I don't think any. I didn't notice any big public figures. But I mean, Barstool and ESPN posted it, and it was, it did go viral. Maybe not for the right reasons, but I guess any publicity is good publicity.
A number of hours until you felt okay again after that occurred.
I'd say a good 24.
Yeah, that sounds about right. By the way, most of us watching it were not okay for another 24 hours.
Yeah, it's safe to say I cut that day pretty short.
Yeah, I believe that. The funny part being so I remembered, after we found out we were having you on, I was like, oh, right, yeah, I remember that. And then I was about to hit play again on the video, and I said, I can't do that to myself. I can't I've seen it. I know what happens. I can't bring myself to watch the video again. It's too painful. I want to know about your connection with Ryan Fuller. That's fascinating to me, right? Where does that come from, and what has been the significance of that relationship, and now knowing you're maybe not that far away from hooking up again?
Yeah, so we're actually he's from the town over from me.
Yeah.
And he's a little older than me. I remember watching him play at UConn when I was a kid. But then as I got older, once he finished up baseball and kind of started getting into coaching, he would help out with some camps and workouts that we would do when I was younger. And then when he fully got into, next level hitting was when I was in college. And he was doing it out of a facility that was about 20 minutes away from where I lived. So I reached out to him, and I started hitting with him. And I brought about 2 or 3 other kids from my college team with me, and it was great.
Wow.
We had known each other prior, but not too well. But once we started hitting when I was in college, that's when we really kind of made a good connection. And the first day I hit with him, I never looked back. I mean, I knew he would be the guy to go to for any hitting tips, advice, anything. So I continued to hit with him for about 3 months, and this was actually this was the winter of 2019 going into 2020. So it was my last year of college, and this was before I knew, obviously, if or where I was going to be playing at professionally. And it was actually, he had just, I think when I was hitting with him, he wasn't with the Orioles. And then a week into us hitting was when he accepted the job from the Orioles.
Wow.
And then obviously that led into COVID. and, you know, COVID, nobody really knew what was going on. And then, you know, we found out the draft was cut short. I think it was a week before the draft happened. And so I got the free agent offer after the draft from the Orioles. But, you know, having that connection with him, I think was a big difference maker, because I had already known, you know, what their hitting philosophies were, like what they really taught, like what they wanted to work on, and how they wanted to work with their players. So just by knowing that information alone and experiencing it with hitting with Ryan in the past, I had known that this would be an organization that I know would help me really grow and get better as a hitter.
That's really cool, man. Like, it's a neat story and how that worked out, and the opportunity for that to continue, for him to impact you. That's a really big deal. And then I have to get to the bottom of this, because I saw that the guys on Masson said that T.T. Bowens is Thomas O'Neill Bowens, and they were confused by that, and admittedly I'm confused by that as well. So we need to know, where did T.T. come from?
So it's Terry O'Neill.
Terry O'Neill Bowens. My apologies. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No.
Yeah. I'm still confused by it, though,
really
admittedly.
It's okay. So it actually, I'm a junior. My father's Terry as well.
Okay.
And when I was a baby, my sister's 3 years older than me. So when I was born, she was about 3 years old, and she couldn't say Terry, so she would just always say Titi.
Okay.
And so my family and friends started calling me that as a baby, and then by the time I was old enough to even know what was going on, everyone was just calling me Titi, and that's what I was used to, and then it kind of just stuck. So my father was Terry and I was Titi, and it made everything easier, you know, not mixing up names, and it just never went away.
Makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world now. That's good stuff. All right, the Baysox are back home next week, starting on Tuesday night against Harrisburg. Events next week include Wolf Wednesday, as well as celebrating with the Cangrejos Fantasmas de Chesapeake, with the cool uniforms next week. 90s night, beer dinner, kids run the bases. Find out more about all those events, baysox.com. TT, it's at Bowens_TT on Twitter and at TTBowens_24 on Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Give him following those spots. Man, really enjoyed this. Thank you for taking the time this morning. Look forward to seeing what's ahead for you. Whatever it is that you've been doing for the last 10 days, may it continue for the next 20 years as a Baltimore Oriole, man. Thank you for doing this morning.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. T.T. Bowens with the Bowie Baysox right now. First base prospect in the Orioles system. Appreciate him taking the time for us. Enjoyed that conversation. And speaking of the Orioles system, you can read more about all of the talent that still exists in the Orioles system, despite the fact that Gunnar and Adley and Grayson all got here to Baltimore. There's still lots to come. This Pipeline Primer issue of Press Box takes you through all of it. Pick it up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Illustration of Jackson Holliday is on the cover, who continues to be white hot. When are you going to see Jackson Holliday?
Tonight.
You're going tonight.
Yep.
To see Jackson Holliday. And are we going to start the
Yeah, that's going to start this Sunday.
This Sunday.
Yeah, and then I'm going next week is Bowie. Tuesday.
Carson's got going to be doing some fun TikTok stuff for us. And I had an idea he presented a farm report idea, and I wanted to expand upon it. And you'll see that on TikTok starting this week. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. But again, go pick up that print issue of Press Box right now. All right. Yeah, we're not going to take a break. We'll just roll through, and you can give him a call in 1 minute. You can wait.
I'll wait till 11:30.
Yeah, when it says 11:30, you can give Jim Bowden a call. There was something I wanted to respond to this morning, and I've already forgotten I need a little bit longer. Dave, I'll get into. Dave wanted to know what I thought about what Lamar Jackson said yesterday. So if you missed it, Lamar Jackson met with the media as the Ravens had their first official OTA. This wasn't football school. This was the official voluntary OTA session. And I did catch that Lamar said that he expects there to be more throwing and less running, which I think we would all expect to be the case. Like that, you don't go from Greg Roman to anyone. Greg Roman does the most running of anyone. So yes, I'm going to assume that whoever it is, there would be more throwing and less running. To what level, I'm not sure. And you know, we can talk more about that. I think it would be a mistake if the answer is you are trying to eliminate Lamar Jackson, the runner. I think that would be, I've said it a million times, I think it would be asinine. I think it would be insanity. But if the idea is let's spread things out and in the process create some more open lanes for Lamar Jackson, the runner, that makes all the sense in the world to me. That's exactly what I think a Todd Monken offense should look like. Is spread it out,
not too bad,
expect to throw, but when it's not there, boy, look at what you have in front of you. You have Lamar Jackson, the runner, the one-of-one skill set. So as long as that doesn't mean we are purposely trying to not have Lamar Jackson run, then I got no problem with it whatsoever. Happened to catch this man on MLB Network Radio over the weekend, and he was raving, gushing about the Baltimore Orioles, who, of course, coming off one of the better wins of the season last night in an explosive comeback win against the Yankees. You hear him on SiriusXM. You see his stuff at The Athletic and CBS Sports. He is former MLB GM Jim Bowden, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure, Glenn. The Oriole Magic sure has been a lot of fun to watch this year.
Man, what a great sport baseball is, Jim. Like, 2 nights ago, the Orioles suffered one of the most deflating losses, and I said, this is the nature of baseball. You never know what the hangover effect of something like that is going to be. You're playing in New York against a Yankees team that's been red hot. You know, maybe there's a bit of a snowball effect, and then you turn around 24 hours later and have maybe your most emotional and exciting win of the season. This type of stuff can only happen in this sport. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah, it really does happen in this sport, and it happens with teams that have that it factor, right? Teams that have that culture, that clubhouse cohesiveness, and it usually happens to the young teams that have been growing together, that are in the pinnacle of what they're going to do. You know, over the last couple of decades, to be able to cover teams like the San Francisco Giants, Kansas City Royals, Chicago Cubs, Washington Nationals, watching all of those teams, Houston Astros, watching them all win world championships, but more importantly, watch how their teams were built and watch how important the farm system was and how the young core grew up together, and then all of a sudden they become contenders, and then all of a sudden, you know, you win world championships. And it's been really fun to watch the Orioles' path, because once they hired Mike Elias from Houston, he put in the exact blueprint that he was a part of in Houston. And his ability to make the right draft picks, especially in the first round, is a game changer. It's critical to be able to accomplish the blueprint, and he's done it.
And someone would say, you know, hey, well, anybody could draft Adley Rutschman, right? Like, that's easy. I think the crazy part now is you're looking at Colton Cowser, who that was a criticized pick, and all of a sudden here he is on the cusp of the major leagues, and everyone's buying into him. And Heston Kjerstad, which was a criticized pick, and you know, looked at for a moment, not to any fault of anyone's, but it looked like a wasted pick. Now, all of a sudden, here we are again, believing that Heston Kjerstad can be a viable middle-of-the-order major league bat. Like, making the number 1 pick, somebody might say, is easy, but the big thing that's jumping out is that these picks that weren't number 1, that some people criticized or said, hey, you're trying to save some cash and you shouldn't be doing that, they're looking like pretty good picks right now.
Yeah, well, people can say that about first-round picks, but there's a little bit different when you actually do it. You didn't even mention probably the most important pick was Jackson Holliday over Drew Jones, when most of the industry would have taken Drew Jones. Mike Elias knows hitters, and all you have to do is look at the group they've got in Houston and understand a lot of that genesis came from Elias's time there. So he knows what he's doing there. That's the point. And look, when you get to draft time, you know, you're going to have a media consensus. You're going to have a fan consensus. But at the end of the day, the really good evaluators are not going to be with the pack. They're going to be behind the pack. They're not going to leak out what they think, what they know. They're just going to quietly make their picks. And then you make the judgment on them after, 3 to 5 years after these guys have performed. And Mike Elias gets an A+ for the job that he and his staff have done in making their selections. And the other thing, too, is, he focused on position players. He focused on hitters. where there's not as much risk. And some of the organizations that went the other way, Detroit Tigers, Kansas City Royals, are just mirrored with bad teams because they all went pitching, and the pitching didn't pan out because there's more risk with that. So it's just been a tremendous job done. Now, that being said, now it's time for Mike Elias to show us that he can get the job done on the trade front. And so you're not going to win a championship if the GM can't go sign the big free agent or go make the trade for that one starting pitcher that could put you over the top. So, he really hasn't made any big trades yet. He really hasn't signed any big free agents yet, which is okay. But now the Orioles are good enough. They are a playoff team. They're good enough to go as far as they go, but do they have enough starting pitching in October? I would argue no, although I think Grayson Rodriguez will be a better pitcher in the second half. I think John Means has a chance. If he comes back from Tommy John and throws harder, he's got a chance to be a guy as well. So it's not that they may not have it, but this team begs to me that you need to be the one team that gets to the trade deadline and gets the very best starting pitcher that ends up getting traded. You need to be that guy. So we'll see what Mike can do at the deadline, but he's certainly on the clock in 2023 for the first time. So
Jim Bowden, a reminder, is a talk show host now, and so he knew exactly where the next places were that I wanted to go in this conversation. Jim, it's fascinating to me because it's starting to get very real. Like, you're in this thing, you have a chance. I don't know that it's reasonable to think that the Orioles can turn themselves into a World Series contender, because the profile of a World Series contender to me is a couple of real top-notch starting pitchers. Knowing we still don't know exactly what's going to be available. Like, we all think that Corbin Burnes could be available, even though the Brewers can be in it, but what could be available, what the actual cost is. If you're the Orioles, are you willing to consider rentals, or does it have to be someone that's got more control? How are you approaching this if you're Mike Elias at this point?
Well, number one, you're not going to trade the core. So in order to go get that pitcher, we're not doing Kerstadt, we're not doing Cowser, we're not doing, Holiday. So, understand that. But the system's deep enough that you still have a chance to outbid. Now, what becomes available, obviously, determines how far you're willing to go. Certainly if Milwaukee were to fall out of it, Corbin Burnes certainly would be an exciting name to look at. But, the White Sox perhaps will have Lucas Giolito and or Lance Lynn that could get traded if the Cubs aren't in it, and Marcus Stroman, all likelihood, is going to opt out of his deal.
Yeah.
He could be available. He would be a difference maker as well. So, look, there's pitchers there, but to your point, and it's true, we're really not going to know until late July, not mid-July, but late July, who possibly could get moved. But, that's why you got to be doing your homework, and you got to be ready, and you got to be there ready to pull the trigger. Now, in terms of this Orioles team, look, they're going to be in a race all year with Tampa Bay and the Yankees. And I would think Toronto's not going to go away either. That's my own opinion. They haven't played well, but I don't think they're going to go away. But that being said, once you get into the dance, we've seen too many times anything can happen, right, in baseball. I've covered wild card teams that have won championships, including the Royals and the Giants. So, it does happen if you get in, and again, certain things have to go right? Like Grayson Rodriguez, all of a sudden the second half, a light goes on, and he becomes the ace he can be. John Means comes back, and boom, he's the number two. And Tyler Wells, what he's doing now is real. And all of a sudden, you got three solid starters. You got two guys in the back end that if you lead after 7, you win. And you've got an offense that can hit with anybody. You talk about Mullins and Mountcastle and Hayes and Rutschman and Santander, and Henderson hasn't even gotten going yet. He will. And you got 2 other outfield bats that are going to be there by August. So you're in a really good position. So you go get that one trade, that one player, and anything can happen. So, I wouldn't, last year I looked at the Orioles and said, good stepping stone.
Yep.
You're heading in the right direction, but you're not ready. You're not there. This year, I'm looking at this team, having watched it for basically 2 months, and I'm saying this is a playoff team. My expectations are you're going to get in. If you don't get in, this year is a failure. So my expectations are not only you're good enough to get in, but you need to get in. And I think this group will find a way to get in. It may be as a wild card team, or it could be a division winner. But my point is, you're still a trade away or a free agent away from me telling you that I think they're at the level of a team like the Braves or the Dodgers or the Astros.
It sounds like you're saying that you would consider a rental, that even if you can't get the guy locked up, that it's worth it. Again, if it doesn't cost you,
sure,
one of these guys that we're talking about, if the cost is lesser, that to get you to whatever that next thing is, that you would even still consider someone who's a pending free agent at the deadline.
Well, I would because I think you have a window now. I think you're there. I think you're in the window. I don't think we have to wait. I mean, it's going to keep getting better and it's sustainable. That's the exciting part. But if there's a piece out there, without breaking up any of the core, that's on the major league team or the core that's coming, but you have enough beyond that to be able to out trade what other people have anyway. So that's my point. So yeah, I mean, this team's really good and only going to get better. I mean, that's the point. I mean, Gunnar Henderson's hitting 200 and something. And
he's trending up. He's trending. We've seen it in the last couple. Obviously, the huge double last night.
Yeah, he'll go off.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is a great player. I mean, he's going to go off. Just like Grayson Rodriguez is going to figure it out. It's just hard. Like when you're Grayson Rodriguez and you're developing and coming through the system, you can throw a fastball down the middle of the plate and get a strikeout. So you're pitching a certain way your whole life. Then you get to the big leagues, and that particular pitch, if you don't put it exactly where you want to put it, gets hit.
Yep.
So then you have to go through that adjustment period of, oh, crap, that pitch got everybody else out my whole life, but now I'm facing hitters, quite frankly, on a nightly basis I've never faced before. And, boy, my command and control has to be that much better. But, I mean, we're still talking to a guy with 50 strikeouts in 42 innings, right?
Yep.
So he's gonna figure out he's going to keep getting better. And I think John Means is a sleeper. I hope people don't sleep on if Means is okay, and I don't know the health and how he's going to throw.
Sure.
But a lot of guys come back from TJ and they bump up 2 or 3 miles an hour. Imagine if he bumps up 2 or 3 with the stuff he's got in his pitchability.
No, it's a top of the rotation guy. Jim Bowden is with us. 2 things I wanted to point out. One, I do remember that you promised me that Gunnar Henderson was a future batting champion, so we're still going to hold you to that at some point. And then 2,
yeah, it's going to happen.
The Grayson Rodriguez thing, I think in the last 24 hours, he told the Baltimore Sun that they discovered he was tipping pitches. And so, hopefully that goes a long way into seeing a more, fixing that, a more consistent Grayson Rodriguez. Jim, if I could, there are 2 names. Everybody's talked about the Orioles extending Adley, but something has struck me in the last month that if they're not ready to do that yet, and we can come back to that conversation, I feel like they could accomplish something by getting something done with Cedric Mullins. I came into this year with still question marks about what Cedric Mullins' future was with the Baltimore Orioles because of his age, because he'd be a free agent after 30, and I just didn't know about the consistency. I think we all know at this point he's never going to be a 30-home run guy again. That's not going to happen. But the totality of what he brings to the table for this team, the way he's improved against lefties this season, the runners in scoring position has been otherworldly. The range in the outfield, the speed on the base paths, I think the Orioles could go a long way towards, accomplishing something with this fan base and also committing to a player that's worthy of it as a leader, as all those things, by doing a 5-year deal with Cedric Mullins right now, who I think, again, given the fact that he wouldn't be a free agent until after 30, would have reason to want to take a more team-friendly deal. Where are you with Cedric Mullins and whether that makes sense for the Birds at the moment?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. He's 20 homers, 30 steals every year. That's what he is. Plus defender in the outfield. Love the energy he brings. I'm with you 100%. But here's the thing: please don't have this conversation until November.
Okay.
I don't want I don't want to talk to Rutschman. I don't want to talk to Mullins. I don't want to talk to anyone until November. I do not want to do anything to have any player on this team be thinking about a contract on any night. Every game's going to be critical in this division. It's the best division in sports right now. Anybody can win. Every game's going to be critical. I don't want your mind to waver. So let's play the season out. And then, yes, I agree with Mullins. Now, in terms of Rutschman, the Angelos just have to understand what's in front of them because we're talking about a generational player that's going to be doing things that other humans can't do. This is the best catcher on planet Earth and is going to be for a decade. And this is a guy you could put him at first and he'd be a beast. But this is a 40% guy. He's a leader. He's a winner. He's going to be the face of your franchise. And this contract's going to have a 3 in front of it.
Yep.
And you just got to accept. You got to accept it early on. Accept the pain and understand it's worth the investment. You don't want to have to deal with this issue, and it's only going to get more expensive. All you got to do is look at the history, the last 30 years in Major League Baseball, and look at where salary goes. And, I'm just telling you, you want to do it early in the career. You don't want these contracts like the Padres are doing, where they're giving these guys the money 35 to 41 years old when they're not going to be performing because nobody does. And I don't care. So I want to do it now, young. And I would do Gunnar Henderson now. I wouldn't wait till he does it. When he does it, it's only going to cost more. I would do it at the end of this year before he's done it. Because he's a sure thing.
This is the Braves concept, like this is the as much as you're trying to be the Houston Astros, now you're looking and saying that the next phase is to try to be the Atlanta Braves because they're the team that was aggressive in this way and it's worked out really well for them. Before I let you go, Jim, could I just, for the sake of fun, I don't think there's a chance in hell that it's going to happen, but just for the fun of the conversation, right now the Angels are playing too well for it to even be. But if they were to go into a patented Angels early summer nosedive, what would a rental Shohei Ohtani cost on the trade market? Like, what would that look like?
You can't do it. I would tell Michael Elias not to do it. I would tell Michael Elias if you want to do Shohei Ohtani, then have the Angelos family get with them in November and do your play. But don't pay the trade price that it's going to take.
Okay.
Because all those good core guys we're talking about, it's not worth it because Baltimore can win world championships going forward with the position players they have in their system now without going to get another superstar if they can just maintain what they have. So I just think it would be a mistake. Now, to have Ohtani, obviously, total game changer, your number one starter, but I wouldn't do it as a rental. It's not worth the 2 months when you built a franchise that has 7 years sustainability right now.
I am inclined to agree, and I just – but the only thing I can say is that, the Orioles once upon a time got basically nothing for Manny Machado, right, as a rental player. I just never know exactly what the cost of a rental player is going to be.
Ohtani's Ohtani's different.
I know, yeah.
Because Ohtani's an ace in the middle of the order, and he does everything. And if you look at the Soto deal, which was one of the greatest trades ever made by a selling team that Washington did, the package they got for Soto was ridiculous. There's no way Perry Manasian could trade Ohtani without getting a package
that is similar to that. Yep. I get that. I completely understand. All right, Jim, what all can we plug for you? You're the busiest man in this business.
You don't need to plug anything. Just go Orioles.
I
love
love that. Let's plug that every day. We'll still plug at Jim Bowden GM on Twitter is the best place to follow him. Always appreciate you taking the time for us, sir. Thanks so much for doing this.
Have a great weekend.
You as well. Jim Bowden with us here on GCR. It's interesting. I've said this week, I'm probably out on rentals altogether. And if the point is, be out on rentals, unless you're doing the rental for a lesser cost. Now, the question is, what are you getting in a rental for a lesser cost? Like, what are you getting in a rental if all you're giving up is, and I hate even putting names out there because it's unfair, if all you're giving up is Judd Fabian, what can you get for that? So if you're getting the rental of a bullpen arm, somebody would say right now, is that what you need? Well, it never hurts to have another bullpen arm. And the Orioles, while they are healthy at the moment, like Arias withstanding, and I know Tate hasn't made his debut, they're still largely healthy. There will be other injuries that will pop up. So if the rental is for, a bat off the bench, a bopper, a plus Ryan O'Hearn, you could probably do that for a lesser cost.
Like a Soler if the Marlins are sellers at the deadline. Or the White Sox like an Andrew Vaughn type.
Vaughn I think would be that
a little more.
That would be a little bit more. And Vaughn's not. Vaughn's got to be under contract for some time. I'm talking about that's a different.
Just want a rental.
I'm saying that, I'm all in on guys that have contracts beyond this season, right? Like, let's talk about that because you believe that you have a window that goes beyond this season. You believe that you have a championship competitive.
And you see this guy as part of it next year, too.
Right, correct. So that's why Corbin Burns has always been so fat. I think we started thinking about Corbin Burns in January or whenever it was the first time that the idea was floated out that Milwaukee, even if they're in it, Milwaukee's such a unique team where they're thinking, even if we're in it, we might try to maximize, get whatever we can for Corbin Burns, and try to find something else, right? Like, that's the way that they operate as a franchise because they don't want to be a big market team, but they're trying to continue their window. They want to figure out a way to do both things. And by the way, I thought that the Orioles might look into being that type of team at some point where they could be equally as interested in bringing in Major League help as they could be in spinning off. If at some point Colton Cowser gets here and they think they have redundancy between, say, Mountcastle and Santander, they might start looking at whether or not they could move Santander to also acquire pieces. And you would say, well, why would you do that? Because they're trying to do a little bit of everything. Like, in their mind, well, we'll have Heston Kjerstad here next year. So, you know, if we've got Kjerstad in the middle of the order and Mountcastle in the middle of the order, what are we doing with Santander at that point? We've got one too many outfield bats right now, so they've got to be thinking along those lines. I'm all for guys that have time. The fact that Burns has another year past this year makes him very intriguing. Now, again, what are you giving up? I have come around to the idea that maybe Jordan Westburg's never an Oriole, right? Like, I don't think that's the case, and at some point the Mateo conversation is only going to get louder. I just think that right now they'd be inclined to say, well, when Arias gets back, if we're moving on from Mateo as an everyday player, it's because Joey Ortiz is going to be the shortstop for the short term. He's done everything right. I mean, like, what more could you ask of Joey Ortiz in this cameo that he has made at the major league level other than he has showed exactly why everyone raved about him defensively for forever and said he was the best defensive player of all of this crop of middle infield talent that the Orioles had. And he's not been a zero as a hitter. Like, part of the conversation that we had was, yeah, but if he's all defense, what do we do with that? Well, he hasn't been all defense. He has been a legitimate, hitter as well. So I say legitimate. I don't want to oversell that either. I want to be careful about that. But he's gotten hits. And if Joey Ortiz can be a 250 hitter playing that level of defense, he's a baseball player. I don't think he's your long-term shortstop. I think we all know that Jackson Holliday is likely to be the long-term shortstop. But the question becomes then, what is Jordan Westburg? Because to me, Joey Ortiz can bridge you to Jackson Holliday, particularly because it looks like Jackson Holliday could be here as early as next summer. And then again, where's the role for Westburg? Is Westburg ultimately going to be your second baseman? Or is he more valuable as a trade chip? As the guy that is a viable, every other team in baseball would want in order to land you something, when you also recognize that you maybe don't necessarily have a committed role for Jordan Westburg. So if the Brewers said, well, Westburg's a star, we'll do Burns for a Westburg package, then it becomes fascinating. It's your first real test of this. You get a guy in Corbin Burns who's been a legitimate top-of-the-rotation type of pitcher. You get him for the rest of this year and next year. Is that worth it for Jordan Westburg? Obviously you'd say, well, I'd like to have Burns longer than that. Let's be practical. Until we see the Orioles start spending that type of money, I don't think we can assume that they're going to spend that type of money. Now, I hope that they will. Because clearly, if you could get 5 more years of Corbin Burns, you would say, absolutely worth doing. Tricky conversation when it's only a year and a half that you're talking about. And Burns hasn't been as dominant this season as we've seen. That's the other part of the trouble of having that conversation. Is I'm only talking about him because he's the guy that we have reason to believe can be available. That's just the way that the Brewers operate. 3.97 is where his ERA sits now. That's not that's not ace, the way that you've been used to Corbin Burns being an ace in baseball. He's been 1-2 whip. It's not like he's been terrible. I haven't looked at Giolito's. What's Giolito been doing?
They're coming around a little bit. I know that.
Well, that would change that conversation, obviously, a great deal. That's part of the issue.
They're still like 19 and 30.
Right.
But
part of the conversation, we all want to talk about this because I think we're all feeling the exact same thing. You're 2 months in. The Orioles are real, but you also know there's a separation between what the Orioles are and what they would need to be in order to win a World Series. Now, what closes that gap?
I also do know that Lance Lynn's been solid the last few times out.
I don't know what's Lance Lynn's contract situation. All those things. I haven't spent a lot of time on Lance Lynn, if I'm being fair.
I'll look at Giolito if you like.
All right, you look at Giolito. Lance Lynn, for the numbers this season, Lance Lynn as he's not been good. You might be right about him being good the last couple times out, but for the season as a whole, he's been dreadful. 1.46 WHIP, 6.28 ERA.
Yeah, Giolito's 3-3, 3.62, 1.1 WHIP.
Yeah, I mean that's
last time out, 6 innings, 1 earned. Then we got a 6 innings, 4 earned, but then 7 innings, 1 earned, 6 innings, 1 earned. So he's been solid.
Lance Lynn, to your point, over his last 2 starts has been much better. He's given up 3 total earned runs over his last 13 innings in his last 2 starts with 13 strikeouts. And in those games, he's put, we're looking at 13 men on base. So a 1-0 whip. But that's 2 starts that we're talking about.
Right.
Now,
that's recent.
Lance Lynn's that smells more like the type of guy that if you can get him for your throwaway, for the prospects that aren't all that relevant to you, if you can get him for something like that,
then yeah,
sure, by all means. But you're not giving up something legitimate
No.
unless, again, Lance Lynn goes, if this continues for another 2 months and you get to the end of July and he is pitching like a legitimate top-of-the-rotation type of pitcher. But Giolito, you give up a little bit more for.
Sure.
I also have to see. Again, I didn't look at contract for either one of those guys.
Yeah, I didn't
Lance
either.
Lynn is the problem with me and not studying up beforehand. Lance Lynn is sitting at, sorry, you're just watching me check the internet right now. That's got to be fascinating. Lance Lynn has a club option for next season, an $18 million club option for next year.
And Giolito's on a 1-year, $10.4 million deal.
He's on.
It says as of he signed it on January 13th.
But that sounds like to avoid arbitration.
Yes, that was oh yeah, I didn't read too. See,
yeah. This is his final year of arbitration. So they're both free agents.
There you go.
Well, I mean, one's a club option, the other Giolito's a free agent. This is his final arbitration year. So that would be a rental for Giolito. So what would you be willing to part ways? Jim Bowden says you should be willing to consider rentals because your window could be now. I've said that before. It's easy to say your window is the next couple of years, and this isn't your window. But we kind of felt that way about the Cubs the year they won the World Series. We didn't really feel like that was their window necessarily. We thought it was the start of their window to win World Series. Well, as it turns out, that's the only one they won, right? Like, they didn't get back after that. So sometimes you think that you're on the front end. You think you're early. But history could tell you it was your chance. That was your opportunity with that core group of players in order to crack through. You were never able. Injuries, whatever it might be. We all thought the 2014 was the Orioles' year, and then all of a sudden Manny Machado gets hurt, Chris Davis gets suspended, and a team that probably should have competed to go – I certainly don't think they get taken care of as easily by the Royals if they've got those guys on the field. Changes everything. So you can say, hey, we really think 2024 is the year. We think 2025 is the year. But you have no idea what's going to happen between now and then. Knock on every piece of wood that the guys that matter don't get hurt. So it might be that this year ultimately is your crazy best chance. It might be that this is the year that you should be going crazy for. I understand why it doesn't make as much sense as trying to go for next year, because next year you can start to project and say, well, Jackson Holiday could be here next year. Like, Heston Kjerstad could be here next. You could have Kalser, Kjerstad, Westberg, and later in the season, Holiday all in the majors if they continue on this progression. You could have upgraded at multiple positions. So it starts to seem even more appealing to think about next year. There's not really more pitching prospects coming. I mean, DL Hall, we'll see if DL Hall works his way back into the rotation for the Orioles at some point. I know a lot of people believe he's going to end up being a reliever, but maybe he could bolster you in some way.
But starters, like Povich is that's time. Like, that's a couple years.
Maybe. I mean, like, you could start doing the math that could be next year, but also it's the question of those guys aren't thought of as sure thing major league starting pitchers.
Prospects.
They're guys that have a chance, but they're not viewed by scouts as definite major league starting pitchers. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Winding down for hour number 2 of today's show. Today's show has also been brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Get there right now, because we're offering you new sports bettors the best sign-up bonuses and promos from the 7 legal online sports books here in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Get offers like $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after you place your first $10 bet, or up to $1,250 in bonus bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. I'm guessing you probably didn't prepare a tidbit.
I did.
Oh, you did. Look at you, Carson
I did.
Weekly.
No tubular. I didn't know what
That's
to do.
fine. I've got that taken care of. No problem. Well, we'll come back in and do those things. Carson, showing up, getting the job done.
I just got
today.
a big strikeout.
Look at that. Yeah, you ended the seventh with a massive 2 runners on base.
And I threw a nasty slider.
Right, that's beautiful. We'll do that. Well, we'll see how good the tidbit is before we say anything like that. We'll do that next. Glenn Clark Radio.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
We are winding down for a Thursday edition of the program. Glenn Clark Radio brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. We are winding down, and you know what, Carson, before we do tidbit, there was only one. I play trivia every Monday night.
Okay.
And there was only one sports, and I didn't get it in with Griffin, so I'll give it to you instead. It was
sounds good.
Very easy one. I always hate that because I'm the sports guy, and it's unfair because they also did a visual round. They do a visual round every week, and this year the visual round included. It's where they just put a picture of somebody up, and you got to figure out who it is. This week's visual round included. The theme was 2023 newsmakers, and they put up pictures of Bob Huggins and Angel Reese. Okay. And I'm not sure that everybody, if you're not like a bigger sports fan, I'm not sure that the casual person got those. So I guess that was a bonus. Also, one of them was Josh Harris, and I didn't even get that one because how would I know what Josh Harris looks like? How in the world would I know what the future owner of the Washington football fellers looks like?
I couldn't tell you either what he looks like.
The only legitimate sports question, however, was who was the last non-quarterback to be NFL MVP?
Do you have a year?
2012, if I remember correctly. I'll double check on that.
Okay.
That's non-quarterback to be NFL MVP.
Adrian Peterson?
It was, of course, Adrian Peterson. Yeah. Of course it was, and it was 2012. Of course it was Adrian Peterson. The funny thing was, I said it out loud, and I'm like, that's right.
I
right?
thought about it, too. No, same.
Like,
honestly, at first, you had me like,
yeah, I
don't know.
I was not as, I said it immediately. I'm like, Adrian Peterson. And I'm like, It's definitely Adrian Peterson, right? And then I'm like going back, like, when did Chris Johnson run for 2,000 yards? Was he MVP that year? Like going through the I'm like, no.
Yeah, that was like 09, right?
It's Adrian Peterson. What are we doing here? That's definitely the answer. So, yeah, that was the only sports-related question of trivia, which was a bummer because when you've got a sports guy on, you like getting a little bit more of a...
You expect to be like, all right, I'm at least going to get all the sports ones.
Correct.
And then I hope I can just stay afloat with the other ones and maybe win this thing.
Yes, exactly. Like somebody, I'll like, for example, you get a question like this. What is the hot corner also known as?
Oh, okay,
well,
yeah. So
you and I, of course, but the average person in the bar might be like, what? The hot corner? I don't know, right? Like I've never. Now, maybe if they said, what's the hot corner also known as in baseball, then people maybe it would trigger something and they would figure that out, right? So I just like it when there's a little bit more of a difficult question that fewer people might get because then we have a bit of an advantage.
You can weeds out just
in
the
those
average
circumstances.
person.
Tidbit is brought to you today by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels. Heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. What you got, Carson?
All right, so last season, the longest consecutive game home run streak was Mike Trout. He had 7 games in a row where he had a home run. Well, young gun for the Cubs, Chris Morel, broke last night.
Him, yes.
But he had 5 games in a row where he had a home run. So I was wondering, Glenn, and these are names you'll know. How about, could you give me the top 6 Cubs franchise leaders in all-time home runs?
Top 6 Cubs franchise
leaders.
Yes,
Cubs franchise leader in home runs, the top 6. You would know all these names.
All right. I assume Ernie Banks.
Yep, he's number 2.
I'll assume Andre Dawson.
Believe it or not, he's all the way down at 14th. Derek Lee actually has more than he does.
Well, I mean, he wasn't. He didn't. I just thought that it was long enough that he would have been able to crack the list. How many seasons did Andre Dawson play in Chicago?
I can find that up.
Andre Dawson played in Chicago from 87 to 91.
Yeah, I only got 4 years in there.
But, okay, so he had a 49 home run season. That's the part maybe I didn't know. He had the 49 home run season, the MVP season in 87. After that, he only had one 30 home run season. So
I guess that does check out because Derek Lee was there for quite a while, so that checks
out. Rizzo.
Yep, Rizzo's number 6.
How many am I trying to get?
Just the top 6. And you already got the number 2 spot, Ernie Banks, and then you got the 6th spot, Rizzo.
So it's everything in between that I got to come up with.
Yeah, you're looking at 1, 3,
I'll go
4,
with
5.
longevity reasons. Ryan Sandberg.
Ryan Sandberg is on there at number 5.
With not a prodigious.
Only 282.
That's
but
he's not a prodigious home run hitter, but again, longevity being the difference in that one.
Yep.
Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant is at 15. Only 160 for him.
It's a little surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say.
Boy, if Chris Bryant didn't make the list.
You got one that's they're all pre-2000.
Okay, that does change a lot.
And you've got 2 Hall of Famers and then one that's...
All right, settle down. You don't have to give me everything. Settle down over there. Mark Grace, longevity.
Mark Grace is number 16, just behind Chris
he's
Bryant.
wasn't a big home run hitter. I just thought the longevity would work in there. Ron Santo.
Ron Santo is on there, number 4, 337 all time.
Okay. How about Billy Williams?
Billy Williams is number 3.
So I got the 2 Hall of Fame.
Yep. So you just need number 1 now.
I thought you said Banks was number 1.
Banks is number 2.
Number 2. Sorry.
You just need the number 1.
Most
Cubs franchise history
before 2000.
And then.
Hang on a second. Hang on. Don't say anything.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna let you.
Oh, Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, there you
Sammy
go.
Sosa.
There
what
you
am I
go.
doing
There
here?
you go.
Sammy Sosa.
There you go.
Yeah.
With 545.
And it's kind of a trick because he's not a Hall of Fame. Like I get it. I don't know why I was.
Yeah, 545, and then Banks not too far behind at 512. Then there's quite a drop off. Billy Williams only had 392, but two guys in the 500 club.
All right, very good. Very good. Thank you. Tubular, brought to you today by PressBoxOnline.com/contest. Sign up right now to win 4 tickets to all of the area's minor league baseball teams, plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and $50 gas card from Royal Farms. It's all available right now. PressBoxOnline.com/contests. You must be 18 or older in order to sign up. Orioles-Yankees, Game 3, rubber match tonight, 7 o'clock on Masson. Kyle Gibson and Clark Schmidt, the pitching matchup. Maryland in Big Ten baseball tournament action. They are in the winner, or they won their first game, so they can eliminate Nebraska tonight, 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. The Heat try again to eliminate the Celtics and advance to the NBA Finals. Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, tonight at 8:30 on TNT. ESPN, as the Golden Knights try to sweep out the Stars and advance to face the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Final. Game 4 tonight, 8 o'clock in the Western Conference Finals. Everything else, go to glennclarkradio.com. If you want to watch Michael Block. John from Little Rock was going off about Michael Block. There was what the hell did John from Little Rock was going in on America's sweetheart, Michael Block. John from Little Rock said, what the hell did he say? I was like, what are we? Oh, Block was an all-time look-at-me guy. He's a club pro and has been in numerous PGA tournaments. His act was a bit much. All the crying was over the top.
I saw that come up on TweetDeck.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, John. I don't mind a hot take every now and then. That one's a bit too much for me, bro. That one is a bit too much for me. Guy was competing in the PGA Championship, playing with Rory McIlroy and hitting a hole-in-one. It's a pretty big deal, dude. I don't think that it was over the top. I think you might be doing a heel bit. I don't know what's going on there. Really, really weird. Anyway, yeah, he's playing in the Charles Schwab Challenge in round 1 of that today at 4 o'clock on the Golf Channel. Non-sports is even weaker tonight. The I Survived Bear Grylls show is on TBS at 9. BattleBots on Discovery at 8. You can find it all at glennclarkradio.com. Carson, thank you for your hard work today. Well done, sir.
I tried real hard.
You did your damnedest, and I appreciate that. Where should people be following you on social?
At Carson Ware, everything.
All right. And, of course, you'll be helping us out on TikTok.
That's right. Yeah, this Sunday we'll have the first thing up, and then I'll be back in here Tuesday.
Looking forward to it. Thanks today to Drew Forrester. Thanks to Jim Bowden. Thanks to T.T. Bowens from the Baysox. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Well done. Well done.
That was my best Griffin impersonation.
That's not bad.
For those wondering.
Stan the Fan will be in tomorrow. Also, our buddy Zach Goodman from the Bat Around will be hanging out with us. And tomorrow we'll make 2 other trips to the minors, as we've got Delmarva and Aberdeen tomorrow. I believe Jared Beck and Baltimore's own Max Costas will be joining us tomorrow. And we'll check in with Nuggets color analyst Scott Hastings on the show tomorrow as well. Talk a little bit more about former Loyola standout Michael Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets. All right. Very good. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including A.J. Michaels, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, All-American Lacrosse, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks still to Griffin. He did book the show at Griffin_Bass is how you follow him. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.